Welcome to Watch, Review, Repeat. This is the podcast where two best friends discuss the latest in film and television and then do it all over again the following week. My name is Colton Brown, and joining me is Andrew Meadows.
Colton Brown, how you doing, man?
Good. This is going to be a hell of an episode because you've got someone sitting there with you, don't you?
I do. Miss Emily Daniels, how you doing?
Hi, guys.
Hello, hello. And that's not all. We've got, of course, Henrique Jaime joining us because we're talking Marvel this week. So welcome back to the show, Henry.
Hey, guys. I feel like this is an Avengers level episode with all four of us here. This is quite something, right?
It's quite
epic level combinations,
collection.
man.
Yes, we're gonna be talking over each other this entire episode, and it's gonna be a ton of fun to edit. So I greatly look forward to that challenge. But I hope that our listeners enjoy us discussing Avengers: Infinity War this week because it is finally fucking here, and we've all seen it, and we're gonna have a lot to talk about. And I think that's bearing the lead just a little bit because I think Henry and I were just talking about this before you guys hopped on to join us before we recorded this. We've basically been kind of burying our thoughts because we've been, I don't know, like I've been trying to talk to someone about this movie for so long and I haven't had a chance to like just sit down and talk at length with anyone. So I'm very glad that we have this podcast available to do that because I am very, very ready to just get it all on the record.
Prepare yourselves for another 4-hour episode.
Well, we're trying to avoid that. Some of us have to wake up fairly early in the morning, so we're gonna keep this thing as condensed as possible. But of course, we're not gonna hold our thoughts back. Certainly when we get to it. But before we get down to business, I do have a couple bits of housekeeping I wanted to touch on. First of which is that our Marvel Cinematic Universe Phase 3 episode is now available for all listeners to listen to. It's been out for a few days by the time this goes up. So I hope you guys enjoyed that close to 4-hour extravaganza. I realize it's long, as with all of our bonus episodes that we've put out, but we had a ton of fun really recording it and going in depth with it, and it felt like a good way to kind of send us out and get ready for Avengers Infinity War. And it was a really fun project, I think, for Henry, Andrew, and myself to kind of undertake. So hope you guys enjoyed that. And I did want to make another announcement that we're actually going to be doing a big giveaway of some IMAX posters. So they're kind of, I think, 11 by 17 inch posters. The IMAX one, I'll have some pictures up on the Twitter and Facebook by the time this episode goes out, and we'll get some details going for that. I think we're going to have 2 to give away. So that'll be cool. I'll look forward to some details on that. And I think that we can get into things. Andrew, I hate to put you on the spot, but do you have a fun fact lined up for us?
Of course I have a fun fact.
Oh, good. All right. Please, enlighten us.
So, the creator of... This is going to be another related fun fact, FYI. The creator of Thanos is Jim Starlin. He's worked with Marvel for 4.5 decades from what I've read. But he is no longer working with Marvel. This is probably the 6th time that he said he's not working with Marvel. But he says that this is he is no longer working with Marvel. And his gripes with Marvel, they're part of the publication side, they're not part of the cinematic side, but he's not very happy with them. So my fun fact is the creator of Thanos is very angry with Marvel, and he's not presumably going to work with them anymore. That's all I've got. That's my fun fact. It's not very fun. Motherfucker's angry.
Well, I feel like maybe it's fitting for this episode because, there's fun to this movie, but there's a little other emotions that come attached to it too. So maybe having a little bit more of a downtrodden fact, a sad fact of the week. Maybe that's the way to go for this week.
What a week.
All right. So news, I'm going to keep this pretty short because, again, we've got a lot to talk about, and I don't want to keep all of our listeners here for hours upon hours. So I tried to cull this news into stuff that was a little bit more pertinent to our interests, and I left a few things that maybe we might have otherwise touched on. But, of course, the first thing we have to talk about is something that Andrew and I briefly talked about on our last episode that we recorded when we saw the leaked footage of Tom Hardy's Venom costume. now we have an official trailer that Sony has put out, so we can see not only that costume reveal in its full glory, but we can see the rest of the movie in its glory is a bad word.
Dude, holy shit, what a fucking trailer, man.
Oh yeah, you liking this one, huh?
I'm totally into it, man. It's so good. If that teaser didn't get me excited, this certainly did. He's got tentacles shooting out of his back. He's grabbing on a motorcycles. It's fucking cool. Are you excited about it as I am?
I'm hoping there's sarcasm there because this looks terrible. This movie looks like absolute trash.
No, there's definitely sarcasm there.
I'm blown away by how terrible this looks. Like, they can't even pronounce the word symbiote correctly in their own fucking movie about it. It's like the levels of incompetence on display here are quite staggering. Like, I'm not even mad. I'm actually impressed,
Are you surprised though? That's the question.
No, because we saw that teaser trailer that I think was probably just as indicative of probably what I'm expecting, the quality from this movie to be. And the only thing, the only buzz that I see from this is like, holy shit, we got to see Venom. I'm like, yeah, we did, but did you ignore the 2 minutes that preceded that? Because that looks like straight, like late 90s superhero movie trash. Like, we said it looked like Spawn. Kind of looks like a Spawn sequel, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Definitely looks like Spawn.
Very spawny.
I don't have good things to say about this. I think that the costume itself looks okay. I think that it looks better in HD than it did from that brief snippet we got. I don't know what the hell Tom Hardy's doing with his accent here. It's very all over the place. But, he's got teeth and, he's got a lashing tongue and...
Who played the blue guy in Spawn?
The Violator, the clown? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah,
that was John Leguizamo.
Yeah, if John Leguizamo was in this, I think it would make the trailer 10 times better. We're missing that like Mario Super Brothers vibe. Was he playing Super Brothers?
He was Luigi. Yes.
Yeah, right. We're missing that Luigi vibe.
Okay,
That's
the
vibe,
secret.
if you will. That's the secret sauce.
All right. Well, maybe write Sony an email, let them know what they're missing, and maybe they can get him in for the reshoots to fix this thing before it comes out on October 5th. I don't have anything else to say on it in the interest of keeping this forward. Any last thoughts before we move on?
I just hope Tom Holland doesn't even cameo in this movie because his name shouldn't even be attached to this if it turns out the way it's looking like.
Yeah, I 100%. I definitely agree with that. Hopefully he wasn't under contract and like required to do it,
Can I say one quick thing?
Oh, absolutely.
Did the CGI look like a high school PowerPoint? Like, I don't know. I got scared.
Yes. I think the one thing that sticks out for me is the motorcycle jump, and then when he like latches back onto it, it looks horrible. Which I don't like to criticize trailers too much for visual effects because in most cases they're not totally done. A lot of visual effects houses are working on this shit pretty much up until they deliver prints to theaters. So I will reserve judgment on that front, but I will agree with you that yes, they probably should not have put that in their trailer because it looked real bad.
I know. I want Venom to be so good, but I don't know.
I don't think it's going to happen with this one.
I don't think so either.
Well, we can move on then to Star Trek 4. Now, this is a different Star Trek than the Quentin Tarantino Star Trek that we've been talking about for the past few months. This is the Star Trek 4 that was previously announced a few years back that was supposed to be a meeting between Chris Pine's Kirk and his father, played by Chris Hemsworth, who was in that brief prologue in 2009 Star Trek. So apparently they're going forward with this movie, and both Pine, Hemsworth are going to be there. Zachary Quinto will be back as Spock, and it has found a director in S.J. Clarkson, who will be the first female to helm a film in the Star Trek franchise. She's previously worked mostly on TV stuff. She very recently did Marvel's Jessica Jones. She's also worked on The Defenders before that, also with Jessica Jones, and Dexter, Bates Motel, and Orange is the New Black. So, what do you guys think about some time travel shenanigans to pit Captain Kirk with his father.
Sounds pretty cool, man. I'm about that.
I'd go see it for sure. Yeah. Why not?
Who is the superior Chris?
Hemsworth.
I think after this movie, I don't. Maybe before this movie too, but after this movie for sure, Hemsworth.
Emily?
Oh Lord, I don't know.
Is it okay? All right. Well, I'm going to pick Hemsworth, and so even if you go Pine, unfortunately, you've been outvoted 3-1. So even if you can abstain, and it'll be 3-0. So we can go with that. So Hemsworth is the winner here. Of course, we are a little bit biased, but fuck, man, it's Chris
Chris
Hemsworth.
Pine was in that the Hell or High Water movie, and it was pretty awesome.
He was. You know, he's Steve Trevor too. He got in on the superhero fun
Pine's
a bit
good.
too.
Yeah, he's pretty fucking cool.
No disrespect to Chris Pine, but he's no Chris Hemsworth. It's just as simple as that. I mean, it's a simple calculus.
He's not Thor, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. Last bit of movie news for the week is a trailer for another Marvel Studios movie, the 20th movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Ant-Man and the Wasp, which we've got a brand new trailer on, and well, I guess we better tread carefully a little bit here because we don't want to dip our toes too much into potential Infinity War spoilers just yet. So I guess strictly speaking on this trailer, without any sort of outside speculation that would tie into Avengers, what do you guys think about this trailer?
I think it looks fun. It looks very similar to the first one, with a lot of shape or I guess size shifting action and some good humor, and you got Michael Pena's back, so it looks, I'd say, more of the same, which is a good thing. The first one was good.
Lots of PG fun. I don't know. You got the cute girl from The Lost. I don't know. Lost. You know.
I mean, that's a plus. That's always a plus.
She's in there. She's got some new powers, but that's about it. I don't know. Paul Rudd's having fun. I don't know. Do we like these movies? How do we feel about Ant-Man?
I think we all like Ant-Man. I think Andrew actually, of the three of us, had Ant-Man the highest ranked amongst us within our kind of Marvel Cinematic Universe rankings, if I recall correctly. So
You recall correctly. I like Ant-Man a whole lot. It was a new recipe in the origin story thing, man. It was good. And I like this trailer. They I believe they opened up the what do they call it? They opened up a whole nother realm.
the quantum realm.
The quantum realm, that's it. And that sounds exciting. It's cool. You know, maybe they go and save what's his face's wife, which is neat. Maybe she's still there. Although I think if she spends too much time there, she'd probably be bonkers. I don't think she'll probably be right in the head. But
well, we do know that Michelle Pfeiffer was cast as Janet Van Dyne, so she'll definitely have a role in the movie. So
I bet she's twisted.
I would say that, you know, now that Hank Pym knows that, you know, Scott Lang traveled to the quantum realm and back, he knows that it's possible to do that. So certainly I would imagine that a sizable amount of the plot of this movie is going to be centered around him, you know, trying to rescue Janet from the quantum realm. So I would say that that's certainly something to look forward to. I think something else that we can look forward to with this movie is an ant playing a fucking E-drum kit.
I was like, what? When I saw that?
that's not Anthony, though, is it?
Oh, dude.
No.
Rest in peace, Anthony.
Anthony, unfortunately, was a casualty of the first movie, which was a very sad moment in the Marvel Cinematic Universe history. But this ant looks like he is the shit. So I'm looking forward to seeing him jamming out. Hopefully,
Playing a little rock band.
Yeah. Reminds me of me.
That's it.
Okay. Any last minute thoughts on Ant-Man and the Wasp, or ready to move on?
My only reservation with this is that we've gotten such fantastic things from the MCU that if this movie just turns out to be like okay, I'll be a little disappointed.
Yeah, they've had a pretty ridiculous stretch of like really good movies. So yeah, I see what you're meaning, but I think this looks really fun. I'm looking forward to it. Certainly a tonal change of pace from what we got in Infinity War for sure. So we'll see how it stacks up on July 6th. Only a couple months away. Looking forward to it. Andrew, I've got something big for you.
What's that, man?
I think you're going to be looking forward to. That is a new television show, a new animated television show. That's going to be coming to Disney XD, and it's going to be called Star Wars Resistance.
Yeah, that sounds cool. What about it?
Okay, I can give you the details on it. Well, first off, it's going to be created by renowned Lucasfilm animation veteran Dave Filoni. You might recognize for his work on Star Wars The Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels. It is going to be centered around a character named Kazuda Siono, a young pilot recruited by the Resistance and tasked with a top-secret mission to spy on the growing threat of the First Order. And it's going to feature some cameos from some fan favorites, including Poe Dameron, Captain Phasma, voiced respectively by actors Oscar Isaac and Gwendolyn Christie.
So, holy shit, I'm all in it.
It's the Rebels successor, basically, is basically what this looks like. I know when we were at Celebration last year, Filoni, when he announced that Rebels was coming to its conclusion after season 4, that, there was something else in the pipeline, and now we know what it is.
Is there any art out for it? Do we know the kind of animation style or anything?
No, but I would suspect it's going to look a lot like Rebels.
Okay. All right. That's cool. I liked Rebels. I'm all about it.
What about the other couple peeps hanging out with us tonight? What do they think about this?
I mean, I love me some Rebels. I haven't. I'm pretty behind on it. I'm in the last season, but I haven't gotten through that far. But I love me some Rebels. I have like all the pops staring at me right now.
Emily has a lot of pops staring at her, but I'm not so sure she knows who they are.
Okay. All right. Well, if you don't have any opinion to offer, then that's just as well. She might know something about this next project we're going to talk about. I think. We'll see. Stranger Things 3. Netflix put out a video on YouTube announcing that it is now in production. So it's about a minute and a half long, this video. It just kind of shows a lot of the cast arriving onto set. You've seen some name cards of some familiar faces. All the kids are back. Millie Bobby Brown back as 11. A couple new additions that we talked about, I think, last week. Jake Busey and... Carrie Elwes, so it's happening, and I think we're looking forward to getting back into the Upside Down.
I am. Emily, what do you think about this?
I don't know. To be honest, I kind of got scared like mid-second season because it kind of seemed like a repeat of the first season, and I just got kind of, I don't know. I just feel like the first season was awesome, and now they're just trying to like make money and like hold it out as long as they can. I don't know. Is it going to be good? What do you guys think?
I like the conclusion of season 2 of Stranger Things. When she went Super Saiyan and she started floating and holding that thing out the wall. Mm-hmm. I was all about that. I thought that was cool. A lot of cool imagery in there. Also the Cthulhu monster, the Mind Flayer. I thought that was some cool shit. And you got that little kid. You got Jonathan Barnes, right? Was that his name?
Will
Barnes, that's it.
Will Byers?
I'm sorry. Yeah, Will Byers. I'm all fucked up. I'm sorry.
It's Johnny V all over again, man.
I get my names mixed up. I'm sorry. Anyways, Will Byers. He's at the arcade. He's just being a kid, and then he sees like Cthulhu out there outside the arcade, man. That's some scary shit. And then he gets fucked up by the monster on the football field. There was a lot of crazy things that happened. The one thing, we talked about this in an episode before, the one thing that I didn't like about the season 2 was the 11 goes on that adventure to another city and finds the other powered kids. That other powered kid, I should say. I didn't really care for that. Yeah, but aside from that, I think there's an overall story to be told with the full inclusion of the Upside Down and everything else, and I think it would be cool to have a conclusion to that story. So that's my opinion on it.
Yeah, I think I stand with you there. I think 1 was better than 2 overall, but I liked 2 a lot, with the general exception of that one episode where 11 fucked off to that was no good. So hopefully 3 is less that and more just hanging out with the gang and some more weird shit happening in Hawkins, Indiana. I think I'm definitely up for this personally.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, I think we've got one last bit of news to talk about then. Westworld Season 3 has been renewed. I could phrase that better. Westworld has been renewed for a 3rd season by HBO. So the 2nd season is currently ongoing. I think 2 episodes have aired, and I am sad to say I haven't watched either of them, so I can't speak on how well things are progressing, but the first season I can speak on. I do know that was excellent, and I think this is pretty much HBO's flagship series now that Game of Thrones is coming to its conclusion next year. So I think it's good news. What do you guys think?
I am current on the events of Westworld Season 2, and I think that it sounds like a good thing. I'm excited about it.
I'm at least one episode in, or definitely just one episode in, and it was it was a very good episode, and it's as trippy as the first season was. So there's so much I think they can explore with this that I'm all for another season after this.
A lot of places to go for sure. A lot of things to explore and stuff. So if they can tell the stories well, I think that they have a good thing on their hands for sure.
Mm-hmm. Emily, have you watched any Westworld?
I have not. All I know is robots and cowboys. Is that what's happening?
There's a little bit of that, yeah, absolutely. Season 1 is like I said, again, it's the only thing that I've seen, so it's my frame of reference, but I would definitely recommend you check it out. I would recommend all of our listeners check it out, but since you're here joining us tonight, I figure I'll address you specifically and say that it is well worth your time.
I will definitely watch it.
I guess I don't really claim to know your sensibilities, but I feel like you would enjoy it, but again, I don't really know, so...
We talked about it on the way here. She's leaving with Season 1.
Okay.
So... hopefully she catches up.
All right. Well, I think we can leave it at that then, yeah?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I would like to take this time to reintroduce a segment that I once tried to make a regular thing on this podcast, and that is the box office breakdown. I think I've talked about it once before on the show, and basically what happened was we did it once. It was the most boring thing ever, so I scrapped it, and then we pretty much never talked about it again. So this is the second time that I've kind of gone back on that. But I'm bringing it up this week, and I'm going to condense it as much as I can because this is a pretty big movie. Avengers Infinity War has done pretty well financially speaking, and at the tail end of our last episode that we recorded, the Lost in Space episode, I asked Andrew if it was going to break the opening weekend record previously held, or at the I spoiled it a little bit, then held by Star Wars The Force Awakens. And Andrew, you said no. I said no as well. Henry and Emily, I realized that, we can't go back and ask you now.
I said no, too.
But, okay. I don't know how many people really could have actually predicted what this thing was going to do. I mean, I think I said that it was going to be the second biggest ever, above The Last Jedi, but below Force Awakens, and I was wrong. We were all wrong, effectively. This has now set the new record for many things, but principally it has set the new record for the largest domestic opening at $257.7 million. And The Force Awakens was the previous holder with $248 million. So it almost broke that by $10 million. Now, say what you will about inflation and blah, 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 blah. Still, it's a fucking ridiculous figure, and it is insanely impressive, and I would say well-deserved, and we'll get into that shortly. Now, to put that into relatable terms for our audience, for you guys, I know you're like, $1 million, what does that mean? Let me put this to you in terms of how many Justice Leagues that is. So,
that's not even right. That's terrible.
Justice League made on its opening weekend $93.8 million. So Avengers Infinity War, to this point, if we're just comparing strictly opening weekends, it made 2.75 Justice Leagues. Now, if we're comparing that to Justice League's entire domestic gross, within 3 days, Avengers Infinity War has made 1.13 Justice Leagues. So it's pretty good.
Oh my God.
That's just disrespectful, Colton. That is disrespectful. You need to apologize.
I'm pretty sure I heard you laughing over there. But there's more territories than just North America. There's a whole world out there.
Yeah,
and talking about the whole world, it opened to $640.5 million, which again is a new record, biggest worldwide opening ever. It topped the previous holder, Fate of the Furious, which had $541.9 million. And just as a side note, the Fate of the Furious opened in all territories at that time. Avengers Infinity War did not open in China, which is one of the biggest box office markets there is, and it still beat the previous record holder by close to $100 million.
Oh my God.
That's insane. It's positively insane. And again, I know you're like, well, millions of dollars, what does that mean? I don't know what that means. In 3 days, it has captured 90% of Justice League's total worldwide gross. Its entire lifetime. Its entire lifetime. And since we're recording this after the weekend is over, the Monday figures have come in, and it has officially crossed Justice League's worldwide total within 4 days. So there you have it, folks. It's made a bit of money. And in terms of the records broken, the ones I've mentioned, the biggest domestic opening, not bad. Biggest worldwide opening, that's pretty good too. Biggest domestic Saturday, biggest domestic Sunday, and the biggest opening weekend in, count them, 16 foreign territories. Jeez. Ridiculous. This movie is ridiculous. So I hope you guys enjoyed those facts. I hope that wasn't too dry for you guys. I tried to spice it up a little bit by throwing some shade. I think we can talk about Avengers Infinity War now, which is the 19th entry in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's directed by Anthony and Joe Russo, who previously directed Captain America the Winter Soldier and Captain America Civil War. It is written by Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely, who also co-wrote those two movies alongside Captain America the First Avenger. And it stars basically every single person that's ever been in a Marvel movie ever. Pick a random hero, probably in it. I don't think I need to go through the whole cast list, but seriously, it is ridiculous how many people are in this movie.
It'd be even easier to say who's not in it.
Yeah, but that would be kind of dipping into spoiler territory potentially, so we won't say that. But again, pick a random hero. You got a good chance of landing on someone that was in it. So really, really impressive cast. Obviously cost a lot of money to get them all here, but it's awesome to see everyone, involved. So just very briefly to talk about what Avengers Infinity War is about. It's about the Avengers, who, with their allies, must be willing to sacrifice all in an attempt to defeat the powerful Thanos before his blitz of devastation and ruin puts an end to the universe. And that's not selling it short either. It's not selling it short. It's a big movie with lots of stakes, and we got lots of things to talk about. So we're going to start with non-spoilers. I wanted to actually start this very briefly, and then I'll kick it off to you guys. But I wanted to start this by reciting a quote from a review from The New Yorker, because it's fucking hilarious. But it's also relevant, just for probably not the reason they wanted it to be. So this is, again, from the New Yorker review of Avengers Infinity War, and it says, Avengers Infinity War would make little sense in the absence of its pack of predecessors. Its characters aren't introduced, they just show up, and their behavior is entirely defined by the template set for them in the other movies. End quote. So, they are not wrong. However, they use that as a criticism against this movie, and I think that's the wrong way to approach this movie, because this is effectively the culmination of 10 years of world building within the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And I don't think we've ever seen any sort of movie like this ever made.
No.
And I would say we wouldn't see anything like it, but that's probably not true, because we might see something very similar to it next year. But basically, this is the culmination of this big, massive arc of introducing the Avengers, introducing the Guardians of the Galaxy, and all these other offshoots that have, popped up over the past couple of years. Doctor Strange, Black Panther, obviously this year was a massive success, and it's all of them together. And that is either going to be something that gets you exceptionally excited, like it does for me, having been a massive fan of this universe since Iron Man came out in 2008, or it's something that, you might have a casual interest and, you'll probably enjoy this movie. Or it might be something that, if you haven't seen anything prior to it, this is not a movie made necessarily for you. You might get something out of it. I'm not suggesting you wouldn't, but this is absolutely a movie that is 100% predicated on the fact that you know what is going on walking into it, or at least have a general idea of what is going on into it. It fully expects you to understand who these characters are, kind of what they've been through, where they're at, in terms of relationships with one another and stuff like that. And I don't really see that as a criticism of the movie, because that's just what this is. I mean, it's the sequel to end all sequels effectively. So I wanted to put that, just to kind of start things off, because I think that it's important to kind of put on the record what this movie actually is.
And judging from the box office numbers, it sounds like most of the world is in some way invested in the characters in the movie.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, again, pick a random character. Even if you don't like this character, you probably like this character, and they're probably in it, and they probably get something to do. Like, there's just so much going on in here, and just for me, again, as a mega fan of the comics, of these movies coming in, like, this is everything for me. And I was apprehensive to some extent walking in, because this is a movie that, because it's kind of, carrying 10 years of character development and everything on its shoulders, it could have collapsed under its own weight pretty easily, I feel. And it's something that didn't. And I think that that's kind of telling in its own right, that this is a movie that, Marvel just continues to strut their stuff, to just kind of flex their muscles, because they, for me, have perfected the art of serialized storytelling in a cinematic format. And that's, again, it's something we've never seen before. Like, this is the season finale, of the Marvel Cinematic Universe in some ways. Or if you want to put it in Game of Thrones terms, it's the episode 9. It's the penultimate episode where shit goes off in a big fucking way, It's an Infinity War, keyword there being war. Like, this is a big fucking movie with stakes, and it's really, really impressive to behold. And again, as someone that this movie feels pretty much designed for someone like me, I cannot express really honestly in words how much this movie meant to me walking in, and how much this movie just resonated with me walking out. So I have more to say on it, but I want to hear what you guys have to say, just non-spoiler wise, general impressions of what you guys thought about Avengers Infinity War.
Well, in regards to that review by the New Yorker, as soon as I read that, I was like, I just kind of laughed, because this is a sequel. Like, this is not a standalone movie. That doesn't mean you have to see every single of the 18 movies leading up to this. Like, if you haven't seen Thor 2, is it going to make or break this? Definitely not. But if you've seen, I think, I don't know number-wise, but if you've seen a few of these movies and you are at least familiar with the characters enough to understand that, like, Iron Man acts a certain way, Captain America is a certain way, Thor and the Guardians, like, that's enough to, like, introduce you to this movie and really feel invested in the characters, because, like I said, there isn't a lot of time spent to developing these characters, because they've already been developed for I don't know how many hours before this. So, without getting to too many spoilers, this movie spends a lot of time developing its newer characters, because we haven't spent as much time with them.
Or its villain.
Exactly. And that's what I was going. Like, this is a lot of screen time for Thanos, because we've only seen him in post-credit scenes and in Guardians. Like, that's not enough to, like, know who your big bad of the entire universe is. And, so I give so much credit to the Russo brothers, because maybe another director could have pulled this off, and doing this doesn't make them the best directors of Hollywood by any means, but not many people, I think, could have pulled this off. And I think you really have to understand the characters, how to create a story that brings people from different universes that seem so different, like the Guardians and Doctor Strange and Spider-Man. And, it just seems like they're very different in tone, and to bring them all in and make it work together, and to create one narrative where they all can play off each other and it works and it feels natural, that's really impressive. And I think, like you said, this could have been a disaster. Like, there's so many characters in this movie. If you told me, I don't know, like 10 years ago that there was going to be a movie with like 64 superheroes, I would have been like, that sounds like a mess. But they somehow made it work, and it comes to the credit of the past movies, but also how they weaved it all together.
I think that this is not my favorite Marvel movie.
Get off!
But I will certainly say that it is, it's definitely the best Avengers movie by far, I think. I think that the biggest accomplishment in this movie is how, and you said it earlier, is how you can take all these people, all these different people in different walks of life, and the different tones in which their own movies establish for themselves, and how you can interweave them into a story that's compelling. I think that's really, I think it's a super challenging thing to do, and I think they did it really well. I think that I thought the villain was compelling, but I didn't think he was as compelling as he could have been, especially since we were already rooted in all the protagonists. I think we could have probably had a little bit more investment in Thanos. But it was a super awesome movie. And if you are invested in these characters, seeing all the different things that they do and stuff in this movie there was a lot of holy shit moments in this movie, I think. It made it a super fun movie to watch. But my jaw was dropped for a lot of the things that happened in this movie, but I don't know about, were any of you guys compelled to like tears or anything like that?
Yes.
I'll say that for the spoilers.
Okay. I didn't get compelled to tears or anything in this movie. There were moments where I was like, oh fuck, just things that I knew they're heart-wrenching moments, but they didn't connect to me on a point to where I wasn't like Your Name emotionally, rocked. Does that make sense? I don't know, but it was, I think it's definitely a compelling movie. I think it's really good, and it was an incredibly challenging feat that was executed really well. And I'm very excited to see where they pick up from. One of the biggest complaints that I've heard about this movie, just in my little niche in the world, is people have a hard time dealing with the cliffhanger that it left them with, which we can get into that in the spoilers. But I don't suffer from that problem. I think it ended in a tight niched way, to where where they pick up from is where they pick up from. But there's a lot of shit going on in this movie, man. It doesn't let up. The entire movie, from the get-go, it's just full throttle, which it made it a lot of fun to watch. It's an incredibly fun movie to watch, I think. What'd you think about it, Emily?
I liked it. I mean, I think the craziest part about this movie is it is 18 different movies from circa 2008 that has led up to now. So it's 10 years of crazy, amazing movies that has happened while we're all growing up doing our stuff. And this is the ultimate season finale. And I'm not gonna lie, I didn't really want to see it. I was just I kind of want to see A Quiet Place. I don't know about the Avengers stuff because it's too many people. How in the world is it going to be good? There's too much star power. It's just going to get confusing. It's going to be a mess. But I was thoroughly impressed. It was amazing to see them interact with each other and all the different storylines converge. I think they did really well. I was really surprised.
Okay. Well, it sounds like all of us had a pretty positive experience overall. It seems like Henry and I had more of a come to Jesus kind of experience with this kind of thing than either of you two did. But I think you guys are all absolutely on the money with kind of, well, Andrew less so. I'm gonna take fault with one of the things you mentioned, but I'll get into that in a minute. But I think that I guess this could be a criticism levied against the movie, but I mean it's a relentless experience. It is basically a third act that lasts for 2.5 hours. It doesn't have that Hawkeye farmhouse type breathing moment, halfway through the movie, like Age of Ultron did, for example, to cite another Avengers movie. It is pretty much from the get-go breakneck pacing and completely always concerned with forward momentum. And I think that makes sense just because of kind of the nature of the story, where there's a natural progression to what the central character is trying to achieve. And I think that it still manages to accomplish that so well because it balances all these characters in such a really impressive way, where Certainly some characters get more focus than others, but I feel like all the characters at least had a moment or two to do something, to kind of show off their abilities, their skill set, and, even if it's just kind of looking cool and saying something cool or being funny or whatever, whatever it is, like, I feel like each of them at least had a moment to do something and contribute in some small way, or in some big way, potentially. And I think that that's really, again, a credit to not only the Russo brothers, but also to Marcus and McFeely. And, it kind of makes sense because these guys have pretty much, for me, kind of been at the center of the renaissance of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Now, I mean, I like everything since Iron Man, but I think that Winter Soldier on, you see a noticeable uptick in quality across the board. And Winter Soldier, I mentioned, is my favorite Marvel Cinematic Universe movie coming into this. It probably still is, but I will have to give this one the benefit of, time just to see where it kind of stacks up overall. But, the Russo brothers, especially with Civil War, I mean, Civil War is almost kind of a test run of, that was more or less an Avengers movie, when you think about it. But it was a lot of characters to juggle, and I think they did a really amazing job with that. And then you pretty much maybe more than double the amount of characters you're dealing with here. Plus you tack on the biggest threat that the Avengers have ever faced in Thanos, give him the Black Order. The children of Thanos have, a little bit of screen time here as well. And there's just a lot. There's a lot to cover. There's a lot of heroes. There's a big villain, and some lackeys, I guess, if you want to put it that way. And there's just so much going on that it's incredible to me that they managed to get everyone at least a moment to shine. And, I think that all of it just really it just came together really, really well for me. I think the humor lands, the Guardians retained their trademark humor. I think, Stark is still Tony Stark, spouting wise, and, Captain America is still Captain America, and I think that everyone is true to their own character, and everyone just the way that they, combine them, the pairings of characters is really interesting. You can see some characters exchanging dialogue that I'm like, holy shit, that person's talking to this person. Like, there's a lot of that going on, and it's just, I don't know. Again, as kind of a mega fanboy, I'm a little bit biased, obviously, but just to see a lot of that is just, it blows my mind. And the scope of this movie is just insane. It's a $300 million movie. Probably 2/3 of that went on the cast, to be fair, just because, again, look at the fucking cast. What the fuck? But
the other 2/3 went to CG.
Yeah, basically. And I think just on that note, I thought the CG, like 99% of the time, actually was really good. There's only bits and pieces where I was just like, that looks like maybe a last minute change type thing, but that's spoiler territory. I thought that, for something that's basically kind of a globe-trotting adventure, I guess maybe a universe-trotting adventure is probably more accurate. It jumps locations. You get a bunch of title cards for different locations. I thought that kind of similar to how the first Avengers was edited, a lot of the transitions made a lot of sense when they kind of moved from this location to this location to this location. Like, I didn't think it felt confusing, and again, I'm someone that is obviously familiar with a lot of this stuff and predisposed to liking a lot of this stuff, but I still felt like it was still edited in a way that was cohesive and made for a really enjoyable experience overall. And I guess just a couple things. I'll wrap up my thoughts and then I'll let you guys tack onto that. I thought Alan Silvestri's score was really, really good. I was very glad that he came back for this one. He did the score for the first Avengers, and then I believe Brian Tyler did the score for Age of Ultron, but I thought Silvestri's work on Avengers, Captain America, the first Avenger, were both great, and I loved his work here. I thought that the recurring use of the Avengers theme was awesome. Like, that was just just something like that, hearing like that got me emotional too, so that shows my inherent bias right there. But I thought that he did an excellent job, and I think that this score is one of the best the MCU has seen. And, well, I guess that's not entirely true because Black Panther's score was fucking awesome. But both those, I think, feel like a return to form overall. And the last thing I wanted to mention, where I disagree with you, Andrew, is that I think Thanos is the best villain the Marvel Cinematic Universe has ever seen. No disrespect to Killmonger, no disrespect to Vulture, but I think that Thanos, for me, is the most compelling villain, and I think that Josh Brolin's performance is the absolute standout amongst an incredibly vast, talented cast.
Oh yeah,
I think he sells the shit out of everything that he does here, and I think that Thanos, to me, you know, he's menacing when he needs to be, but he is, you know, I still connected with Thanos, you know, in this movie as effectively the central character of this movie. I don't necessarily agree with everything that he's doing, but I think that there's certainly enough to him. You know, they really kind of moved away from his comic book motivations of being in love with death, you know, the literal personification of death, and trying to impress Lady Death. And they gave him a very different set of motivations that I thought, from where he's standing, from his backstory, I thought that they were, you know, everything made sense to me. Like, I felt like it was a compelling reason for him to do what he's doing. And, you know, he doesn't see himself as the bad guy. You know, I guess technically no bad guy necessarily sees himself that way, but he's not evil for the sake of being evil. He has very believable motivations, you know, in the same way that Killmonger in Black Panther I felt was really compelling because of his backstory. I thought it was the same case for Thanos here, but I thought that moreover, just, you know, when he was, you know, physical, and when he was brutal when he needed to be, he was. And when he was vulnerable and emotional when he needed to be, he was. And I just thought that everything with Thanos for me was kind of beyond my wildest imaginations with what we saw with the character. And again, Josh Brolin, that casting right there was a stroke of genius, because
he's fucking great. No, he's great.
He's incredible. But I also think, as a second note to that, I thought that the CG done on Thanos was impeccable. There's only like one or two moments where I was just like, oh, that didn't look quite right. Like, I could tell there was a little Uncanny Valley type effect going on. But outside of that, I thought that the work on that was just astonishing. And again, to talk about another movie that had a fully CG villain, you know, in a world of Steppenwolf in Justice League, I mean, honestly, it's insane.
Come on, man.
It's the most obvious comparison to invite. I mean, think about it.
Well, if you want to compare it to anything within the Marvel universe, you can compare it to Abomination.
I guess, but that came out 10 years ago. You know, Justice League came out half a year ago. You know, I think that the technology hasn't advanced so miraculously in that span of time that the gulf between the Steppenwolfs and the Thanoses is, you know, like
crazy.
There's no reason that Steppenwolf looked as bad as it did, but at the same time, it also puts it into perspective how fucking ridiculously good this technology is.
And they have been refining Thanos for what was his first appearance?
Avengers
was the first appearance?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm sure a studio hasn't refined for that many years, but they did have Thanos started, you know, as far as Avengers goes, however many years ago that was.
That's kind of true, except they kind of redid his entire design for this, so I don't think that's entirely accurate. I mean, Brolin himself has been attached to the role since Guardians in 2014, but he was in that for a scene and a half. So, I don't know. I mean, I see what you're saying, but at the same time,
I'm not defending DC by any stretch of the imagination. Don't interpret that as defense, because it's not.
All right.
But because Thanos did look incredible. I mean, he was a very believable. He was a believable person. I mean, he looked really real.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I bought into it. You know, I think that Marvel's done a pretty good job with taking otherworldly type characters and making them look real. Like Hulk in the Avengers came out in 2012, still looks fucking amazing. So you know, they've obviously done it before, but I think that they knocked it out of the park with his design, when obviously Brolin with his performance, and that's kind of what I have for non-spoilers personally. So I'll kick it back to you guys, and then we can get into recommendation once we get through some other additional thoughts you guys might have.
I mean, there's not much I want to say that doesn't include spoilers, and I'll just agree with you on most of pretty much everything you said. Thanos looks so good in CGI. Like his facial expressions and like the micro expressions that changed in his face looked great. And like, it's a beautiful movie. Like, it took a lot of the great aspects of space that James Gunn had in his movie with the color and everything, and, you know, incorporated some of that into this, and it's just like a spectacle to watch.
That sums up the movie for me as spectacle. A lot of the movie is, I mean, it's just, there's a lot of spectacle to this movie. Truly fucking cool. I think it's a really fucking cool movie. I think that's the way I'd sum it up. I don't think it's the most, I don't know. There were emotional points that really hit home in Black Panther for me. That just,
Well, you are the Black Panther.
and that's because I am the Black Panther. This is true. And that's probably why it really hits home for me. But this one, yeah, I don't know. You know, there's a lot of those characters that I think, and we can't talk about this right now because we're in non-spoiler section, but my initial impressions of this movie is just pure spectacle. The things that happen to it are just holy shit moments for me. There's a lot of cool action sequences. There were a lot of characters that got really cool moments to shine that I don't think they've had those moments to shine before. One character in particular. And I don't know. It's just really, it was a really cool movie. I'm all about it.
Emily, do you have anything else you'd like to add up?
Nothing too crazy. I definitely agree the CGI on Thanos was amazing. I mean, if there's times when I'm watching a movie and I forget that it is CGI and I'm so engrossed, like, wow. Like, I don't know. I'm amazed. Like, I think that was a very, very good, powerful villain. Like, I don't really think there was anything missing or anything more to add for this one. Like, I think he was perfect for this movie.
All right. Well, I
guess I'm outvoted, motherfuckers. I guess I'm the only one that thinks he got
3-1, motherfucker. You're out. Recommendation. I will kick it off to you guys for recommendation. Now, Emily, I don't know how familiar you are with this podcast, but our recommendation for movies takes 4 tiers. So it's see it in theaters, wait for the Blu-ray, wait for Netflix, or wait for someone to pay you to watch this movie. Oh. So I'll let any of you guys begin. I don't really care who, but where do you guys stand on this? I know where I stand on it, so you guys can probably take a stab at it, honestly, but I'll let you guys kick this off.
Henry, you go first, and then I'll go.
Alrighty. So I was talking to my roommate who doesn't like sci-fi and doesn't like superhero movies, and I told him he should still go see it in theater because I think it's something that, you know, I told him to kind of like add a asterisk to the watch it in theaters. I was like, go watch this with your movie pass because I know you don't like this kind of stuff, but I think you should experience it even if you're not fully invested in these characters for the outcomes that it has. So I think that's my recommendation for anyone, really. Like, go see it once in theaters. You won't have the same reaction if you're not invested in these characters as we are, but you know, it's the biggest movie to ever open, so go experience that at least. Like, just check it out, see how you feel. If you are a fan of Marvel and you haven't seen it, then like, I don't even know, like, go see it soon before you get something spoiled, please. And that's where I'll leave it.
Dope. Yeah, I mean, I definitely think everyone should see it in the theaters. Like, it's just, I don't know, it's too big a movie. Like, you got to see it now so you can relate to all the weird memes that are coming out on Facebook. Like, it's the only way you're going to understand. You got to see it now.
Infinity War spoilers with no context?
For sure.
Andrew.
I think that that this is a worldwide cultural phenomenon, and you have to go watch it. And I don't think that's exaggerating. I mean, it's everybody's going to see it. And when you take something like that, we're not talking like an art house film. You need to go watch it just based on the merits of filmmaking. You need to watch it just because this is what the world is going to see. And sure, the merits of filmmaking do carry over into this movie. I mean, it's a spectacle. Just crazy amounts of artistic display are put on in this movie. I mean, with CG and everything else, the score's incredible. The cinematography is on point. It's action packed. It's well acted. There's a lot of reasons to go see it just on a pure cinema standpoint, but just like, Emily and Henry said, I mean, it's everybody's going to see it, and if you want to relate to any other human being on the face of the earth, you need to go see it. And that's just the way it is. It's a cultural phenomenon, man. It's like Star Wars, or it's like I guess the Titanic at one point was one of these movies, but it's not anymore. Avatar, right? There's things Black Panther, exactly. There's things that come out that are important to just the fucking human race, man. It's epic shit. You need to go see it if you want to be a part of the human race. Okay?
Well, I thought I was going to oversell it, but Jesus.
I like it.
You're going to die if you don't see it.
Sit. And if you don't go see it, something's wrong with you, man.
Something horrible will happen to you if you don't see it, bro.
So that's my opinion on it. It's worldwide cultural phenomenon. You need to go see this shit. So, Colton, what do you think about it?
I mean, I agree
You
that
agree?
it is absolutely.
Do you agree? Disagree? Am I wrong?
I agree
Am I
that
wrong?
it is a cultural phenomenon, and
I
I
fucking
would
wrong?
recommend. You're not wrong. No.
That was a
Like I
little
said,
big
I don't
Lebowski.
think I would have gotten that far with it, but basically, I mean, your point stands that it is a cultural phenomenon, and it's one that even if you don't necessarily have any sort of attachments to this, I think that you'll still have enjoyment. Like I still think you'll get something out of it, even if it's just being in a sold out audience and just kind of soaking in the audience's audible reactions to this happening, that happening, anything like that. Like there's so much in this movie, and there's so much for I think everyone in the audience. There's a lot for me. So on that note, I will absolutely say that you should see this in theaters. If you have the ability to do so, please see it in IMAX, because that's the way to experience this movie. The whole thing was filmed with IMAX cameras. So if you go see it in IMAX, you get an expanded aspect ratio. So it's absolutely worth it for seeing the entire picture, having the best, audible experience with it too. And I've seen it 3 times as of recording this. I have done something I've never done in my entire life. I saw this twice on opening night, back to back. I didn't plan to until I watched it. And then I was like, I need to see this again. And part of it was knowing that I wouldn't be able to see it for a few days after that. So I kind of wanted to I didn't want to wait for a few days and just have one viewing simmering. I needed to go back. I was like, I think that just happened. Let me go back and make sure that, oh yeah, that just happened. So that's kind of what I did with it. And then I've seen it once more since then. 2 times I've seen it in true IMAX. The second time I saw it, on opening night, was in a LIMAX, which is a far inferior experience overall, but it's still better than your regular theater experience, certainly. And I'm ready to see it another 3 times, honestly. And I will probably see it again very soon. So please see this in theaters. I mean, I guess I don't really need to beg people to see it, because honestly, a lot of people that are listening to this now probably have already seen it.
You just need to tell them if they want to be a part of the human race, they need to watch it.
If they need to be a part of the human race, yeah, Andrew said it. You heard it here first. If you want to be a part of the human race, see Avengers: Infinity War. So, I mean, I don't actually,
That's
what?
fair.
I can't top that. I think we need to get into spoilers. And what do you think about that?
Please,
Okay,
please.
all right. We say we need to get this off our chest now. So, full spoilers for Avengers: Infinity War. Please, if you have not seen this movie, I fully encourage you to go see it and come back and listen to the spoiler section. I think that you're best off walking into this movie having as little idea of what's going to happen as possible. I watched the trailers, I watched TV spots, I watched like one clip, and this thing still threw me for a loop here and there. I was blown away by kind of what was in store. So please go see this, before you listen to our spoiler section. But you've been warned, and if you want to stick around, that is your prerogative. So, spoilers for Avengers: Infinity War. Right off the bat, is there anything anyone wanted to just immediately talk about? I think we're going to go, kind of set piece by set piece and try to, to capture some of our reactions to things that have happened here and there. But before we get in that, is there anything anyone wants to get off their chest?
Yeah, I need to say it.
Okay.
Doctor Strange got a lot of really cool shit to do in this movie.
Yeah, he got a big buff, didn't he?
Yes, he did, and it's so fucking cool. He claps his hand and does that like 1,000-arm kind of deal, and then he duplicates himself. He's got a fucking fire whip. Doctor Strange got me really pumped up in this movie, and then he disappears, and it's kind of shitty.
Damn it! It's true.
Oh, you spoiled it.
Hey, we'll get there, obviously, but yeah, no, he's not wrong. We are in spoilers.
I gotta get it off my chest. I was really excited for Doctor Strange's movie to come out, and he kind of just did a lot of magical. He didn't do a lot of magical shit, and I was kind of underwhelmed. But god damn, did he do some magical shit in this movie, and it was fucking cool. Yeah, and it got Tony Stark, who is the most bombastic, audacious dude, and he's looking up at the end. He's looking up to Doctor Strange. What did you see when you were meditating there in the time stone? It's like, well, I saw a million different outcomes, and this is blah 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 blah.
More like
Yeah.
14
Well,
million.
I don't know what.
Try 14 million. Yeah.
14 million. Yeah. Okay. Exactly. So, Doctor Strange was really fucking cool, man, and that made me really happy inside.
All right. Well, yeah. I thought all the characters were served very well, but I thought that definitely Doctor Strange was certainly one that got a lot more to work with. We saw elements in Ragnarok, to be fair, of him kind of getting certainly a power buff, but he didn't do really much to oppose anyone in that movie. Whereas him, trying to 1v1 Thanos was pretty fucking, it was ridiculous and it was awesome. Definitely,
It was so awesome.
So, anyone else have anything immediately they want to get off their chest?
All right, you go, Emily.
No, I think I'm gonna ruin. Okay, so when his quote unquote daughter Gamora dies, I felt nothing. Like, I don't know. I just feel like it was drawn out a lot. There was music, and it was like 5 minutes of her dying and falling, and like I just didn't care. Like I didn't really feel anything until all the bad things happened at the end, and then I felt a lot. But
Okay. All right.
Was I supposed to feel a lot? Did you guys feel a lot? when she
I felt
died?
some things. I can only speak for myself.
I don't know.
That's where I was talking about those major emotional plot points. I felt like I was kind of dead inside. I was like, is something wrong with me? Because it's not connecting the way I think it should be connecting. There's only one death in this movie that really connected with me, and that was Tom Holland's.
Oh,
Tom Holland's was drawn out and it was fucking emotional. That was sad. Tony, please, I don't want to go. I don't want to die. It's like, oh, fuck, man. Everybody else is dying with a little bit of fucking, gusto, and you're whining about it and crying, and you're making me sad about it, man. And Tom Holland made me really sad about it. And that was the only one I really got kind of sad about, which is bad because I'm emotionally vested in a lot of these characters, but I didn't connect a whole lot. And that's my biggest gripe with the movie, because I felt like I should have, and so I don't know. Oh, and Vision was sad. Tom Holland and Vision, or Spider-Man and Vision, were pretty rough. But aside from those two, I didn't feel a lot for the rest of them. I kind of got underwhelmed when Doctor Strange died. It's like, oh fuck, dude, you did so much cool stuff, but now you're fading away. That's not cool, But
So many spoilers.
I don't know.
Hey, this is a spoiler section. This is what happens.
This is what happens in the
all
spoilers.
free.
This is why I warned people, because I was like, let me just,
You're like,
because
wait, Doctor
we've been
Strange dies?
we've been bottling this up for so long. I figured some of us would want to just get something out right away, and I'm holding things in because I want to kind of touch on it as we go through.
Colton will
But,
explode
Henry,
for like 30 minutes.
I will. I 100% will. If you let me. So stop me if I'm getting a little too overzealous with things. But Henry, do you have anything immediately, or do you want to go through it?
I'll go first before you take over. I'll detail my experience with this movie. So, since the Super Bowl trailer, I don't think I've seen any new footage of Infinity War, and for me, that was probably one of the hardest things I've ever had to do in my life. Not to exaggerate anything. It was fucking difficult.
Nicotine, bro.
Oh
I promise
man!
you.
Like every time a new thing, like a new like trailer come out on TV, I would run away. Like, it was ridiculous. And I stopped reading. I stopped going on YouTube. 2 days before the movie came out, I just deleted my Facebook and my Twitter apps.
Oh my god, Henry.
I hid my YouTube app in the folder so I couldn't get to it because I knew that I would go on it. And I got in a fight with a friend because he was like telling me the Rotten Tomatoes about it, and it was a lot, and I was very anxious about it because I just wanted to go in and in a very pure state without knowing too much about it. And I think I mostly accomplished it. Like, I think watching the trailers, like, you see the Wakanda stuff, you're like, okay, they're obviously going to Wakanda and stuff and things like that. But I was still surprised for the majority of the film, and it was such an experience the first time I watched it that I don't know if I'll ever get that again. So I think everything's just downhill from here, maybe.
Oh my god.
Not to be somber.
Henry, no.
What is life? What is life?
Well, and you think about it, you had to separate yourself from the human race for like 3 months.
I did. I was not a part of
and
the
now
human
you've
race.
rejoined them. So
And now I'm
I feel
back,
like that
and-
should maybe is that an indictment of the human race? Maybe it's not. Maybe it's a little overrated. I don't know.
Oh, I don't know, but I went in. I had to watch it Friday, and just not watching it Thursday was also difficult because people started texting me about it, and like, "Oh, that was sad," and I'm like, "Shut up! Don't talk to me." And they're like, "What? I'm like, "Just don't talk to me." So I watched it Friday night. It was incredible. I had so many emotions going through it, and then I watched it again in IMAX, which I think I actually really liked doing it that way because then I really get to experience it just with a lot of people opening night, kind of that high energy, and then IMAX, still like packed theater, but I got to absorb a little more of it. So I got to like really focus in on things that I knew were coming. And I felt like the first time I watched it, it was just emotions. Like, I couldn't process anything other than my emotions because I'm so invested into these characters. And so I think, very briefly, just talk about deaths. We're in spoilers. I was sad in the beginning with Heimdall and Loki, but it wasn't unexpected. So, it made me sad, but it didn't surprise me. Then the Gamora actually did surprise me a little bit. I didn't expect to see her go in this movie, just being so tied to Thanos, but I guess that really makes a lot of sense. And part of it was seeing Gamora leave and just thinking about, like, what are the Guardians going to be like without her? Because, she's one of the main characters. She's one of the original Guardians. And then
There's not too many left.
Oh, okay. I'm thinking way far ahead.
Okay, fair.
But then another part was just Thanos being sad, and like, when do you see your villain just like cry over something? That's not kind of like the man tears that Thor had, because that was a very emotional scene with him and Rocket. We can probably get into it, but Thanos had real tears. Like, he was sad, and I was like, well, I'm not ready to see Gamora go because I thought she was gonna be with us longer. And like, now you have the main villain feeling sad, and I'm like, shit, why am I feeling sad? Like, he's the villain. So, props to Josh Brolin. And then the end just devastated me. Like, I had,
What is life?
I figured it could happen. I didn't think the Russos would do it. I didn't think Marvel would do it. Frankly, like, I was like, these movies are all about fun. They're not about, leaving you in a shattered state like it left us, which I think surprised a lot of people. And that Tom Holland scene destroyed me. Like, wow. And I don't even know. Like, I'm thinking about it. I'm just getting sad right now. And I'm like, Tom Holland's probably fine. Tom Holland's probably just like enjoying his like millions of dollars chilling in England, and I'm just thinking about him. I'm like, goddamn, I never thought I would see Spider-Man die. I mean,
let me ask you this: does it diminish the value of this movie? Have any inclination that they're going to come back?
I don't think so.
No.
Yeah. So as soon as Black Panther died, I was like, what the hell is going on? He's clearly coming back, but like, my brain couldn't process that in time. Like, I'm like, okay, obviously it's Black Panther 2. There's no way that I'm making Black Panther 2.
And see, that's all I could think about, and I think maybe that's why the value was diminished.
Yeah,
I don't know.
And I have heard that from different people, but like, I think within the scope of the movie, just knowing that he's gone for at least a year still hits me pretty hard. Like, not that I'm expecting to see like a new Black Panther movie anytime soon, but like, just knowing that there is somewhere in a movie universe there is no Black Panther, there's no Spider-Man, there's no Doctor Strange, there's no Guardians. Like, that
Childhood's
hurts.
ruined, Henry. It's over.
Just to add my 2 cents, I don't think it cheapens it because the effects are still felt within the universe. Even if I know that a Spider-Man Homecoming sequel is coming out, I'm sure a Black Panther sequel will be coming out. I'm sure a Doctor Strange sequel will be coming out eventually. We know Guardians Volume 3 is coming out, although technically speaking, it doesn't have to be about, the same Guardians that we've seen. It will be, but it doesn't have to be. But I think that the effects are still felt in the universe. When Captain America says, "Oh God," like that still is a gut punch for me. Like these characters are all getting that massive gut punch right now. And just, I'm really honestly excited to see the effects of that in Avengers 4 next year. Even if most of these deaths are undone, I still think there's stakes because just because these guys survived this round doesn't mean they're going to survive the next round. Just because some of those guys died, and maybe they'll come back, they could still die again, and it's one of those things where I just because I think the characters are probably going to come back in some fashion, I don't really think that it cheapens that, because I think that, in universe, the storytelling is still compelling enough for me that I bought everyone's reactions, to these characters' deaths. So I don't really find it to be cheapening, but that's just my thoughts on it.
No, that was mostly it. Like,
Tom Holland was emotional. That was emotional shit right there.
Tom Holland.
Yeah, and that's what I mean is basically he's a surrogate son for fucking Stark,
Right.
And you think that Tony Stark, even if Peter comes back a year later in universe, you think that year of him kind of having that guilt weighing on his chest, you think that's not going to fuck him up? Like, I think that counts as consequences. I think that counts as stakes. And honestly, I'm curious to see if it has consequences on Thanos himself, obviously
Thanos don't give a shit. He don't give a shit about
Thanos
anybody.
definitely gives a shit. Otherwise, he would never have achieved, getting the Soul Stone. So Thanos definitely gives a shit. Thanos. Okay, we'll get to that. Because Thanos absolutely 100% does give a shit, and we will get to that. So let's just get into the movie because otherwise we're gonna get off track. I 100% think you're wrong, and that's kind of what the movie talks about at the end. And there's kind of a big scene dedicated to exactly that, but we'll get there. So from the beginning, I think this movie kind of sets the stage with the Marvel Studios logo. And I was expecting, the big happy fanfare, and then it doesn't come. We get this Asgardian distress call, which, fun fact for you, Andrew, since you weren't going to give us any fun facts today. It's fun fact is that was voiced by Kenneth Branagh, the director of the first Thor.
Also the man with the gigantic mustache.
The gigantic mustache, Hercule Poirot in Murder on the Orient Express. So yeah, that kind of to me set the stage of like, oh fuck, like we're getting into it right off the bat. And, it picks up with Thanos, the Black Order aboard the craft that the Asgardians had escaped from at the end of Thor Ragnarok. Thanos already has the Power Stone, so something's popped off on Xandar. We don't know what. We obviously didn't get a chance to see that in this one. Again, we see the Black Order here, the children of Thanos, and, pretty much the first opening frame when we see Thanos, he's got his back turned towards the camera, and Thor is actually in the frame, but he's fucked up on the ground. And, like, honestly, if you didn't know to look for him, you might not even realize it was him until he gets picked up by Thanos. And it's just like, fuck me. Like, this is already, like, dire straits for everyone involved. And I thought it was awesome.
His hand fits right in his head. Like, yeah. Thanos got a fucking big, meaty hand. Dude is massive.
He's a big fucking dude, yeah.
Yes.
I guess he's not a dude. He's a man. But he's a titan. No. So, like, basically, for me, like, the moment, like I was just, the first time I was watching, I'm like, oh fuck, what's going on here? And I think Henry talked about it a little bit. Like, I was expecting Heimdall and Loki to go pretty early on in this movie. I mean, I certainly expect expected, based on the post-credits scene we had in Ragnarok with the Sanctuary 2 arriving, that things were going to go very sour for the Asgardians here. But I don't know, I kind of forgot that Hulk was with them, and then Loki's all like, and we have a Hulk. And then we get this big fucking showdown, maybe 2 minutes into the movie, of Hulk and Thanos just fucking absolutely shreds Hulk. And I was just like, I'm in. From that moment on, I was just like, I'm fucking in. Like, that is awesome. Did you guys feel that way?
Yeah, it was crazy. Super crazy. He just picks them apart. I mean, you got Hulk hulking about, and Thanos is dancing around him, popping him with punches and stuff, and I mean, just completely breaks the Hulk. Just completely breaks him.
Yeah. It was badass.
Yeah, up until that point, no, I mean, nothing has been able to withstand the Hulk.
Hulkbuster.
Even the Hulkbuster got punched in the face.
Yeah, that was a battle.
I mean, it did damage to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we would say, I mean, I say that was an extended sequence. This was Thanos, let him have his fun, it was definitely an ass-kicking, massive beatdown. Certainly the biggest beatdown we've ever seen on the Hulk. I mean, Hulk probably would have lost that fight against Thor had the Grandmaster not intervened, but that was still a duel. This was a one-sided beatdown. But I thought that this was a good way to start the movie because, it immediately establishes Thanos as a physical presence to be, reckoned with. Like, if he's just clowning on the Hulk, like, this dude is nothing to fuck with. We see Heimdall get stabbed after he transports, Hulk elsewhere. Loki finally gets, it looks like, as far as we can tell, an actual death. Thanos breaks his neck. It's a pretty dark way to start. I did agree, I kind of expected a lot of this kind of coming in. But I do have a question. Where's Valkyrie? And where's Korg?
They better be alive. That's all I want to say.
No, fucking Thanos and the children of Thanos killed him, dude.
No, man. They're in a space
Yeah.
pod.
Yeah, well,
They're in a
actually,
space
I
pod?
have an
I don't know,
answer
I'm guessing.
I have an answer for some of this. So, Valkyrie, Tessa Thompson was in this movie at some point. Her role was cut, but the Russo brothers have confirmed that Valkyrie is still kicking. She's around, and Thor actually states later in the movie that Thanos only killed half the Asgardians. So the rest escaped in pods. So we have to cross our fingers that Korg was amongst them as well. But we don't have any official confirmation on that just yet. Maybe they'll pop up at Avengers 4. That'd be fun. But end of the sequence, Thanos acquires the Space Stone and basically blows the rest of the ship to high hell and leaves Thor for dead, effectively. So, any thoughts to add on this kind of opening sequence here?
Heimdall's still fucking cool.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man.
That's sad he's gone because he was fucking cool.
Well, maybe he's in
cool.
maybe he's in Valhalla.
Valhalla.
Oh, yes. Everyone's in Valhalla. Maybe Loki's there now too.
Maybe.
It's a goddamn Asgardian party in Valhalla. Let's put it that way.
No, just a great intro for your villain. Like, you have possibly the strongest Avenger in Hulk just get wrecked. Like, first round knockout kind of fight. Like, he's out.
Thor is not down and out though.
Yeah, but Thor gets wrecked too,
He's not happy when he's in a bad situation.
Yeah, like everyone
God
just
damn,
gets
does
demolished.
he come back in a big way? I think that may have been one of the biggest holy shit moments is when he fucking comes back and kicks some ass.
Yeah.
It's fucking cool.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get there.
Yeah, we will. This opening, now that I think about it, I mean, it's basically Star Wars, right? Thanos is Darth Vader. I mean, it's literally, a big fucking ship, firing some lasers on a smaller ship and getting boarded and stuff like that. So, I mean, that's a pretty good comparison to invite, certainly. And I think that Thanos definitely fits the bill of a Vader type character. So, pretty cool. Moving forward, probably the next big sequence that we see, I guess we pick up with
Voldemort's intimidating too. And that's when you get your first presence of him. I really like the Voldemort guy. Which one is he?
You mean Squidward?
Squidward? Is it Squidward?
I was like, why are we talking about Harry Potter here?
That is Ebony Maw.
Ebony Maw is fucking cool, dude. I mean, the chick with the horns gets some screen time too. I think between her and Ebony Maw, I think they probably get the most. But Ebony Maw is fucking intimidating, man. He's a scary dude.
Mm-hmm. And just to add a little bit of context for where we're at, Ebony Maw and Cole Obsidian, they arrive in New York, where the Hulk was transported to. He lands in the Sanctum Sanctorum, the New York Sanctum, and warns Strange and Wong that Thanos is coming. A nice comic book reference to Infinity Gauntlet, I believe. He's taken the Silver Surfer role in this one. Unfortunately, the Fox rights couldn't clear in time to make that a real possibility. But pretty cool there. They get Stark in on the fun, and then you get this sequence of this huge fucking spaceship in New York, and there's a really cool one shot. Yeah, Spider Sense is cool, but there's this really cool one shot when they're inside the Sanctum. You see Strange's hair moving out, and then they move out, and you just see fucking chaos erupting outside. And it's it's a really tense moment. Every time I've seen it, I'm like, this is a good way to just kind of build this threat. Oh no, not again! Aliens are back in New York. It's fucking cool. It's fucking cool there, and then you get this massive fucking sequence between all these guys fighting. Spider-Man, jumps in on the fun too, and you get this huge showdown. It's this thing. It's just so much action. Every sequence, there's a lot of punchiness to a lot of it, and not a ton of time to really kind of sit down and breathe and kind of see what's going on. It's just one thing after the other, and this is just another thing that comes after that opening that we got.
And I think this is where you get your first real your first culmination of all the different humor and characters in all the different Marvel movies, because you have that Spider-Man humor when he's trying to get off the bus. Hey, make a distraction. Oh, we're all gonna die, and he jumps off the fucking window, and then you go over there, and then you got Doctor Strange humor with his cloak, doing all sorts of crazy shit and whatnot, and it was that. I don't know. I think that for me, that was the first time where you realize that all these different characters are gonna be pulled together in a way to where they're still their own, but now they're all interacting with each other. And I think that's really, I think that's where you first get introduced to the challenge and how it's going to be presented. And I think that was really cool.
Yeah, and I think it's actually really seamlessly done, because I guess when you think about it, this is the first time that Bruce Banner meets Doctor Strange. It's the first time that Tony Stark meets Doctor Strange and Wong. Can't forget about Wong, who was invited to the wedding.
The manservant. Yeah.
It's not really a manservant. He's a full master of the mystic arts in his own right.
I thought he was called the man. I thought Wong was manservant.
That's some comic books that they got rid of for the movies.
Okay.
It's a little racist. Probably why. So yeah, but I think that it's very seamless, with the interactions between the characters. It's the meshing of these worlds, the blending of these worlds, but it all feels right. It doesn't feel it doesn't feel unnatural. Just the dialogue feels very snappy, very witty and appropriate to the characters, and it's just cool shit. And I agree with you. Ebony Maw is just he's a creepy ass dude. Let's put it that way. But he is intense. Just the moment when he pins Strange against the side of the building, I'll peel it from your corpse if I have to, when he's talking about the time stone, it's fucking cool, man. I gotta admit, I came in kind of with a little bit of a boner for the Black Order personally, because I was really fucking looking forward to seeing those dudes, and they don't really get a ton of depth and characterization, but I really like all the designs, and a lot of them get some cool shit to do, and Ebony Maw, I think, probably gets the coolest shit to do. I think he's definitely the most effective for the screen time that they're given. But cool sequence. And again, it's just something like this. It's so much to take in on a first viewing. And I feel giddy just reliving it as I'm talking about it right now. So I apologize if I'm boring you guys to tears, but I'm having a damn good time over here. So
no, dude, not at all.
Man,
Squidward was the best. I really liked Ebony Maw a lot.
Yeah, he's good. I mean, he is a little Voldemort looking, I will say. Apparently, another fun fact for you guys. I'm full of fun facts now. In some foreign translations of this movie, I'm not sure which country, but he's actually, when Tony makes a Squidward joke, they actually dubbed that or subtitled that as Voldemort as the reference instead. Maybe more Harry Potter inspired markets. Yeah, so. It was funny, Andrew, that you made that comment. Obviously, you weren't the only one to pick up on such a thing. So, end result of this, Doctor Strange does get captured by the Maw, and Stark and Parker are in hot pursuit of that. We get a first look at the Iron Spider costume, and which I gotta say looked way more badass in action than I thought it would, just from that brief snippet that we got at Homecoming. It was definitely a cool suit, and we'll pick up, I guess, a little bit more with kind of where they're at. I'm trying to jumping around. I realize some of this is going to go a little bit out of order, but I'm trying to keep the set pieces and the grouping of characters kind of relatively consistent from scene to scene. So from there, we kind of move to Scotland, where we see Wanda and Vision sitting in a tree. I mean, not literally.
Kissing.
Yeah, they gotta say there's clearly been some progression on that front. We've had inklings of their budding relationship. I would say even from their initial meeting in Age of Ultron, but clearly they got a thing going here, and they kind of have to meet in secret because Vision's still signatory to the Accords, and Wanda is a wanted criminal that Cap broke out at the end of Civil War. So. They got a little bit of a thing going, have a little bit of moment together when they are attacked by Proxima Midnight and Corvus Glaive, one half of the Black Order, and we get this kind of badass sequence. And I gotta say, for my money, I think Wanda is one of my favorite Avengers, and I've kind of felt like she's been underutilized a bit overall, especially compared to what her power set kind of really makes her capable of. We really haven't seen her kind of cut loose as much as I think that she's capable of, and I think we get a lot more Wanda being just fucking awesome in this, and this is kind of the start of that, where she's flying around, she's kind of moving Vision around, and she's standing toe to toe with two of these bad motherfuckers, and it's awesome. Like, this whole sequence is just, for me, just super cool, just when they're fighting them by themselves, and then when Cap you see him in shadows behind the train.
Who'd you think that was?
Proxima spear. Oh, I already knew it was Cap.
I thought it was Voldemort.
You thought it was Voldemort catching the spear?
No, just kidding. No. From the trailer, I could tell it was Cap, but I was still super pumped when he came out.
Did you think that was someone else? Andrew?
Yeah, I thought it was somebody else, but I guess I'm an idiot.
Who did you think it was?
Podcast is. I thought maybe it was T'Challa. I didn't know.
Oh, okay.
I thought he was standing over there in the shadows, but I don't know. I think I was just on a Black Panther high, I guess. But then when he caught the spear, I was like, "Holy shit! It's Captain America!" I got
with a beard.
With a beard, yes. Yeah, so that was kind of cool. I got kind of pumped up. I got pumped up quite a bit. I was in a very excited movie theater. I was there opening night, and it was packed, and everybody there was screaming and yelling, and it was a very exciting place to be. So I found myself getting kind of excited. There was one cameo. We'll get there. And I was delayed on. I was slack-jawed when I saw it, and then when I said something, the movie theater was silent. So I was very delayed in my response.
You were that guy.
That was that guy. But anyways, I digress. But.
Yeah. So, we get this sequence with Cap and the rest of the kind of wanted criminal Avengers, I guess, not including Hawkeye and Ant-Man. So Cap, Widow, Falcon, coming to the rescue, to the aid of both Wanda and Vision. And Widow actually stabs Corvus, which, I feel like Widow got a bit of a buff here, too. I mean, for someone that has, to my knowledge, no superpowers, I mean, it's possible she's given a Russian version of the serum at some point in her time, which could explain why she's an Avenger, perhaps. But, as far as we know, she's just kind of awesome, but she doesn't have any real superhuman prowess. But, I mean, she was fucking standing toe-to-toe with both those dudes. I guess one's a lady. No disrespect. But it was fucking awesome to see that. Just the whole sequence of them, and basically, Corvus and Proxima, tucking their tail between their legs and then fucking off back to space. Again, super cool sequence for me. Anything else on that?
No, man.
Okay. Well, moving forward. A little bit forward, we see the Guardians of the Galaxy. We go to space. We see the title card space. We got the the music kicks in, and I certainly, I think everyone in my theater, I think all the time, I guess the first two times I saw it, the third time I saw it, it was like a Monday afternoon, so it was only like 40-ish, 50 people in there, somewhere around there, whereas the first two times I went, it was on opening night, sold out theaters. as soon as you hear that music kick in, everyone's like, oh, fuck, here we go. It's the Guardians of the Galaxy. And I got swept in that hype myself. But, we pick up with them in space. Then they hear this distress signal, and they go out to it, and they find Thor floating in the cosmos, and pick him up and rescue him. And what do you guys think about this meeting between the Guardians of the Galaxy and Thor?
I thought it was hilarious.
The angel pirate.
Yes.
He's here.
Yeah.
Chris Pratt starts talking in a deep voice.
That was good. Yeah, that was good.
Hey, Quill, are you making your voice deeper? No.
This is how I talk. I don't know what you're talking about.
Are
you mocking me?
The funniest pairing that we got in the movie. Like,
Yeah.
Just the Ragnarok humor with the Guardians humor.
Yeah, you covered it. I was just going to say that. I mean, it totally makes sense. Like, this is I can't even imagine like a Dark World Thor meeting the Guardians of the Galaxy, but Ragnarok Thor meeting the Guardians of the Galaxy is such a perfect fit, and it's so seamless here that it's just fucking awesome. And the Guardians are hilarious as always. Drax, in general in this movie, I think is fucking hilarious.
He's invisible.
But yeah, I thought this was a really, really fun sequence to kind of see them all, meet up together. Mantis putting on her mean face is pretty good too.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
So eventually, the Guardians kind of split off. Rocket and adolescent Groot, Groot, go off.
Groot.
Whoa!
Why you gotta do like that, dude?
They go off with Thor on a little side quest, and the remaining Guardians travel off to nowhere, which we'll get to in just a bit. But pretty good. I like the pairings here. Thor with his friends Rabbit and Tree is definitely a good combo. So I guess we can talk about that. We'll kind of just go through it. It's kind of cut again between their quest to Nidavellir, the home of the dwarves, and kind of everything else that happens in the movie. But we can kind of just talk about everything that happens
giant
in their
Tyrion
whole adventure.
Man.
It does have giant Tyrion, but I wanted to talk about something before we got to giant Tyrion.
Sorry, guys. I'm sorry.
It's okay. No, I wanted to talk about Captain Rocket because I think it's been a while. Someone said something about that, I think, when we got into the spoilers of the scene where Thor and Rocket kind of have that moment where they're talking to each other.
Yeah.
Rocket gives him the eye. It's a good moment. I thought that was a really touching moment. But Chris Hemsworth here is fucking spectacular. When he's talking about kind of all the loss. My brother's dead. Had a sister that came back. Father died, sister died. Had to kill her. How's your mom? Yeah, you got a mom, right? Oh, no. She got killed by a dark elf. Best friend got stabbed through the heart. Just all the moments with Thor here, it kind of, he's still got that kind of, humorous side to him that we saw kind of brought out in Ragnarok, but you can still see that Thor fundamentally is a character that's been through some fucking shit. All of them have kind of been through some shit, but Thor most recently has been through a lot of shit. And I thought that was just a really, really great sequence between the two of those characters.
And that's why his comeback is so strong. I really enjoyed the Thor arc in this whole thing. It might be a God of War thing too. I don't know. I might just be hyped up on the Norse shit. I don't know. But God damn, does he come back in a big way. I really enjoyed Thor's arc through the whole movie. I thought it was awesome.
Yeah. Thor's really great in this one. I say certainly compared to his role in the other Avengers movies. I mean, he doesn't show up for 45 minutes in the first Avengers. In the second one, he fucks off to a weird side quest to find out about the Infinity Stones. And Thor never really quite had a great place in either of the Avengers movies. And I kind of felt like it was a deliberate maneuver to say, hey, Thor's kind of been shortchanged in the past. Let's make him, a focal point. Let's give him like a really big arc in this movie that we really haven't seen from him, in these kind of team up kind of movies. Obviously, he was absent from Civil War, so I think that Thor's character here is just really greatly served by this little side quest that he goes off on. And they do meet, of course, giant Tyrion, Atri, the Dwarf King. So Andrew, you sound like you had some things to say about that.
Yeah, he's a fucking giant dwarf. I had no idea that was going to happen.
Did you know that Peter and Dinklage was going to be in this movie at all?
I had no idea. I had no idea. Blew my mind. It blew my mind. I was... that was a holy shit moment for me. Said, what? Yeah, that was kind of my response, that exact words. But, and then he's got to jumpstart a star. Like, the epic proportions of this movie are just ridiculous. We need to jumpstart this star so I can forge myself a new hammer. And it was, I don't know, it's just really fucking cool.
Yeah, it's badass. My theory, and I feel like I might have stolen this from someone, so I apologize if I did steal this from someone. I might have read it somewhere, probably on Reddit. I spent a lot of time on Reddit. In Civil War, when Cap gets that moment where he's holding onto the helicopter that Bucky is taking, and he flexes his muscles, and Chris Evans looks fucking ripped as fuck, and I'm like, yeah, that's awesome. I think Hemsworth went to the Russos and said, yes, I would like this to happen in this movie, please. And so they give him this scene of him, holding the fucking, the whatever
eye,
it is to power the
yes.
goddamn the star to power the forge, and I'm like, holy shit, that is a man right there. Like, I was a fucking cool ass scene right there.
You are a dude. That is a man.
So veiny, dude. That was just like inappropriate.
It's the PG porn basically. But I love this whole sequence here.
It's what I do when I sign papers at work. I just flex my arms a lot. Sign here, please. No.
Yeah. But he forges Stormbreaker and Groot, too busy playing Defenders for most of the damn movie, finally decides to do something, and he makes the handle for it, which was pretty fucking awesome. I assume that this axe does not have the Mjolnir like enchantment. Otherwise, it means Groot is worthy. But maybe since he's a tree, I don't know. I just remembered there was a line about Thor learning Groot as an elective on Asgard, which is fucking incredible. So that's a side note. But I agree. I think this whole sequence of Thor kind of going on this quest to Nidavellir was badass. I knew Peter Dinklage was in this movie. I think a lot of people that had kind of followed things closely suspected he was going to be Atri, so that was like the biggest running theory. Some people thought he might have been the voice for Corvus Glaive until I think 2 days before they announced who actually was playing Corvus and voicing him, and it wasn't him. So I kind of expected this, but I had heard rumors that he might be like a literal giant dwarf. But when I did see it in the movie, I was like, oh, okay, they went there. All right, that's cool. So I like this bit a lot. And any other thoughts on that?
No, it's just really fucking cool. I thought it was cool.
Oh, so the song that Star-Lord is playing when they come in is the Rubber Band Man by the Spinners.
It was awesome.
The Spinners, yes.
Good stuff. And
yeah.
As much as I like this is probably my least favorite subplot of the entire movie, only because
you're wrong.
It continues. No, like I'm saying,
I've been waiting for that all night. All night I've been wrong. You're wrong, Henry.
Just because you're when later it gets to the movie and you're in Wakanda and you're having this big battle, it still keeps flipping back to that same part where Thor trying to get Stormbreaker, and I liked it, and I don't think there's a problem with it. I kind of wish it had concluded a little bit sooner, but you have to kind of wait for him to finish so Thor can go back. So I understand kind of the order it was put in.
I thought it added to the tension, right? Because like all this shit's going on Earth, and Thor's over here fucking off, jumpstarting a star, flexing his muscles, and he comes back right at the moment to kill or try to kill Thanos. It was
sort of.
Yeah, he
shows up well before Thanos comes to Earth, to be fair, but he shows up in a moment of triumph when the Outriders are kind of fucking everything up once they've let him in through the barrier.
Right.
So
it made his appearance that much more prominent.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, actually, to be fair, I agree with both of you in the sense that it's probably the one sequence in here that isn't really shown its entirety, more or less, kind of on its own. It's probably the one that's kind of interspliced with the rest of the movie, kind of probably throughout the whole middle act of it until Thor and Tree and Rabbit make their way to Wakanda. So I see where you're both coming from, but I like this a lot, so that's where I stand on it. But let's kind of, I guess we're backtracking a little bit, but Doctor Strange gets rescued aboard Ebony Maw's ship via Peter Parker, Spider-Man, and Iron Man teaming up, which I don't think we talked about it actually, but Iron Man's suit, we didn't talk about the suit up sequence in New York. I mean, he's got basically the bleeding edge armor, armor with the nanobots, the nanotech kind of forming it. But like when he's like making like random shit like come off him and like shoot like fucking beams and shit, I'm like, what is happening with this fucking suit? Like, it's insane. I loved it. Like, and actually, I think he might have learned a lesson or two from Cap, because he definitely uses a shield at least 2 separate times in this movie. So I think he was like, that seems like a pretty winning strategy. Let me try that out. Anyway.
First holy shit moment for me was when Spider-Man got his legs. When he got that Iron Spider suit, I was like, holy shit, that's cool.
Yeah.
I thought that was cool.
Yeah. Which was part of the sequence. You know, they used the really old movie tactic again, this time from Aliens, to blow Maw out of the ship. And basically, it's, Spidey has to use the Iron Spider legs to kind of, hold on to the interior of the ship to save Strange. So yeah, that was pretty fucking awesome. Again, I kind of knew that the Iron Spider legs were coming at some point. You know, there's things I knew going in, but I didn't know when they might happen. So that was definitely really cool to see. I was sad to see Ebony Maw go. It seemed like he got off pretty quickly.
Yeah, I feel like he was too powerful to like go that way. Like, I love the Aliens reference and everything, but like, I don't know. I miss Squidward. I want more of him.
Yeah, I was a big fan of him. I think of the Black Order, he probably had the best presence, but he seemed like he's definitely the first one of them to die. Because I mean, I guess to be fair, Corvus and Proxima kind of get their asses kicked in Scotland, and then they retreat. Whereas Maw is kind of the only one that kind of somewhat succeeds right off the bat by capturing Strange. But then he gets outmaneuvered here. But it's one of those things. Villains got to die at some point, I guess. The villains can't win everything, or the villain can't win everything just yet. He's got to have some loss as he goes forward. But Strange gets rescued. They try to see what they should do with the ship, and they say, "Fuck it, let's go to Titan and see what's happening there and meet up with Thanos, since that's our best strategy. That's our best move." Meanwhile, the Guardians head off to Nowhere, a location we previously saw in Guardians of the Galaxy. So they come to the Collector's Collection, because that is where the Reality Stone is housed, which they learn via Thor. And as a side note, another fun fact for you guys. The first time I watched this movie, in the credits, there's something that says Arrested Development character courtesy of 20th Century Fox. And I was like, character? Yeah. Did any of you catch this?
I didn't.
Any times you saw the movie?
My sister told me about it, and I tried to find it, but I was too captivated even the second time to see it, so I actually don't know where, but I know what you're talking about.
I looked for this specifically the second time I saw it, and I saw it again the third time I saw it. Tobias Funke makes a cameo in this movie as part of the Collector's Collection.
No,
it is the Blue Man Group version of Tobias. He's in I just blew myself mode with his never nude pants on. He's got the jean shorts on, and he's just in the background. I think there's a shot of Gamora looking around, and you can see him just kind of slumped over, like leaning, sitting against the back of the glass in the collection. Which actually we learn that we're not actually seeing the true form of his collection. So is Thanos an Arrested Development fan?
Probably.
I mean, he might be. He's got to spend some time doing some things, right? He spends a lot of time in his fucking chair. Maybe he's got an iPad that he watches Arrested Development on Netflix from. He's got some intergalactic Wi-Fi or something. So it's obviously just a fun reference. And the Russos were famously directors on a ton of episodes on Arrested Development, and it's not the first time they've snuck in some Arrested Development references in their movie. There's the Bluth stair car in Civil War at the airport. Anyway, back to kind of what's happening in this sequence. We see Benicio del Toro very briefly back as the Collector, sort of. Again, as we learn, he's kind of a mirage that Thanos has kind of set up to ensnare Gamora. But I thought I really, really liked how the scene played out with Thanos just kind of, using the Reality Stone to fuck with everyone here. Like you see Drax turn into like the blocks, and you see Mantis turn into Spaghetti Mantis, and it's just like,
I thought
what's
they were
going
fun.
on here?
I didn't think they were. I didn't think. I mean, why would he not just murder them?
Because he's not trying to.
No. Okay.
I mean, I think that's true of Thanos. Basically, outside of the opening sequence, I don't think Thanos is trying to kill anyone necessarily. Like he'll kill you if you get in his way, but he's not overly concerned with just killing people. Like he's just more concerned with pushing people out of his way to get what he wants. I think he recognizes that's why I like Thanos, is because he's not a full-on villain. Like, even when
He
we jump to him
recognizes the
talking to
value
Stark,
of life. Right. Okay.
yeah, he's talking to Stark. Like, his whole motivation is trying to cull the population into something where the finite resources can sustain life and, without struggle, basically. So he's not trying to just straight up kill everyone. He's trying to, the way he sees it is that, he's been doing this for planets already, where he's killed half the population at random, and he sees doing it via the snap all at once. Obviously, it's a lot easier than going planet by planet, but he sees it as a mercy because he's not actively shooting people like we see in that flashback with little Gamora. Where we see,
I understand.
The Chitauri just lay waste to half the people there. Like that's brutal. I mean, it's just straight up genocide. It's genocide one way or another. Don't get me wrong, but at least I think from the way he sees it is that he sees it as a mercy to kind of just remove them from existence instead of giving them a painful death, I guess. But it's still pretty twisted anyway, Sven, I would say. But this whole sequence on Nowhere, we don't really see the fate of the Collector. We see that his collection is in shambles, so one might presume that the Collector is donezo. It's entirely possible, but nothing definitive on that. But we do see that he has the Reality Stone now, and he fucks off with Gamora at this point. So, would you guys, anything to add on the Nowhere sequence?
No, I mean, I really like how they use the Reality Stone in this, because in the Thor movie, it was just like another thing that would shoot red beams at you, and this one was a lot more fun, like him actually manipulating reality,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Well, I mentioned the Gamora flashback on her home planet, and we see kind of little Gamora. Did you guys have any reaction to that? I mean, obviously, it's kind of to add a little bit of backstory for what's to come. But what did you guys think about that?
I liked it. I don't know why, but when that scene came, I immediately started thinking about like Chronicles of Riddick for some reason. I don't know. Totally unrelated, but I don't know. I don't really know too much backstory about like daddy and adopted daughter, so it was interesting, but I also thought it was weird that he would just choose some random little girl to like save and like raise. I don't know, but I don't know any lore or anything, so I probably, I'm not educated, so I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think certainly within the greater context of the movie, it was to show some shades to their relationship. We see, in Guardians of the Galaxy, Thanos talks about Gamora as his favorite daughter. So clearly there was some, end universe kind of world building to explain why Thanos has such a connection to Gamora. It definitely seems very one-sided, where she was just kidnapped as a kid and kind of raised to be a merciless, murderer. And once she kind of breaks free of his shackles and joins the Guardians, she's kind of a changed person. But Thanos in his own twisted way obviously has some love for her, as we see when we travel to Vormir. The final location of the Soul Stone at last revealed to us in a place that I think is nobody expected, because Vormir is a comic book location, but it's one that has no relevance to the Soul Stone in the comics, and I think they probably just picked a random planet and said, let's use that. And it's there that we meet the Stonekeeper.
Fucking Red Skull. What?
Yes.
I was like, what?
So I will say, I had absolutely no clue this was happening. I had a vague idea about most everything that was going to happen in this movie. Like I kind of half expected the snap at the end. There's lots of little bits, and I'm like, I think that's going to happen. I think that might happen. I think that might happen. I had no fucking clue the Red Skull was going to be in this. So when I heard the voice, and I was just like, what? It sounds familiar. And they kind of go to that slow zoom, and you see the Red Skull. I was legit fucking shook. kid you not, for a minute, I was just like, what? Like, that was me. I was that guy in the theater of like, that shit blew my mind. Like, Henry, I can't even imagine what half this movie was like for you, because that was the one thing that I had legitimately no clue about. I imagine there's probably more in this that was really surprising for you, because you went on radio silence with a lot of it. For me, I was just like, that was the moment of like, my brain cannot wrap around what's happening right now. And it was fucking cool. I loved it. I loved that reveal. So badass. This is the scene that we talked about a little bit earlier of Thanos sacrificing Gamora to acquire the stone. And I thought this was a good sequence. This didn't bring me to tears, I wouldn't say, but it was definitely something that I'm like, oh fuck, they went there. Because I think this is kind of pre-snap death, so I have to think that this might be one that sticks. Potentially. I mean, there's some Soul Stone fuckery that they could probably potentially explore with that. That could mean that they could possibly bring her back for future Guardians. But this is kind of the death that the rest of the movie kind of pivots around in terms of, it's the motivations for why Quill kind of fucks everything up in a bit. I don't know. It's a good moment for me where, Thanos starts tearing up, and she's like, seriously, you're fucking crying? And Red Skull's all like, they're not for him. I was just like, oh shit. I kind of knew it was coming at that point, but I don't know. I liked it pretty well personally. And I was still kind of wrapping my head around the fucking Red Skull being there, which again was awesome.
Yeah, no, I really like their relationship in general in this movie, and we get a little bit of that, and you see the Gamora and Nebula relationship early on too, and that's the only reason Gamora even tells him the location of the stone. And it to me, it's such an interesting relationship because he clearly cares for her and loves her, and she despises him, but she still was raised by him. And so when she thinks she kills him, she starts crying because of how I think she still feels very conflicted about Thanos. He raised her to be something that she hates within himself, but that's also what he says, like, I've made you the strongest woman in the universe. So it's a very complex relationship, and I really enjoy that. And, you don't see that too often.
Mm-hmm. You guys have anything else to add on that? You ready to move on? I know you talked about it a little bit earlier, so...
No, I think it's
okay.
it.
All right.
I'm sorry about that. I got kicked out the headphones. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I've got nothing else.
I was like,
I've got nothing else to hide. I've got nothing else to say to that. I'm sorry.
All right. Very well then. So we shift to Titan, where we see the first meeting between I guess sort of the Avengers and the Guardians, kind of meeting up. For the first time, they have a little tete-a-tete initially. It's revealed that,
What did they have?
They're not a tete-a-tete.
A tete-a-tete?
Yes.
What is a tete-a-tete?
It's they're having a little skirmish there. Let's
Oh,
go with
okay.
that. How's
All right,
that?
that's cool. I never heard those words before.
Okay. Well, now you have.
Tete-a-tete.
So, they realize that neither of them serve Thanos, and they decide that it's time to come up with a plan that doesn't suck. So they team up against Thanos. We get kind of a big sequence where, Thanos comes, and this, again, is one of those things where seeing all these guys just team up is so fucking cool. They come up with this plan basically to kind of distract him, and then kind of pull them into different directions, and Mantis jumps on top of them with one of Strange's portals and kind of subdues them somewhat, so they can take the gauntlet off. I mean, it's pretty good way to try to stop them, is to just pull the gauntlet off, and then like, all right, as soon as we get it off, we're gone. We can't, we're not trying to kill this guy. We're literally trying to get the gauntlet and leave, because we're not going to be able to kill him. Like, they kind of pretty much state that within it. And things don't go too well, because Nebula shows up. She had been tortured by Thanos, and was kind of the one that basically revealed that Gamora did know where the Soul Stone was, which eventually led to her death. And Nebula kind of deduces that, oh fuck, Thanos is here, he has a Soul Stone, but Gamora's not here. And once Quill kind of catches wind of that, he Quill's kind of a man-child, you know. He's kind of very emotional. You know, we saw that obviously in Guardians Volume 2, and he kind of loses his shit and kind of throws the plan out of whack.
The whole universe hinges on this plan succeeding, and he fucks it up.
Or does it?
Yeah,
because
wants to say Doctor Strange already knows.
I would say that he definitely knows what's going on.
Which is pretty cool.
Doctor Strange has seen the one scenario that works. So to me, the fact that Doctor Strange does not intervene at this point, to me, suggests that he knows some things that we don't. So I think that, you know, Strange is kind of...
A badass?
I mean, really...
Yes?
Well, he's definitely a badass. We know that. Yeah, we've established that. But I think that, in general, I think Strange's actions here really kind of indicate kind of what's necessary for perhaps an eventual victory. So, I mean, like I said, Thanos, you know, once he snaps out of it, he throws a fucking moon at Titan, which is ridiculous. By the way, he stabs Stark and they kind of have the moment together. I hope they remember you. Like that's such a fucking cool moment. That's why I like Thanos, because he has such fucking cool moments with a lot of these characters. And, you know, Strange, in spite of the fact that he was like, you know, if it comes down to protecting the Time Stone or saving one of your lives, I'm going for the Time Stone. Sorry, dude. He just willingly turns over this Time Stone willy-nilly. You know, to me suggests that Strange knows that the only way forward is to basically let Thanos have the stone here. So...
yeah, clearly Iron Man has to play some kind of role, or else he would have just kept the stone. Like, the only reason he gave it up was to save his life. So it's something that he saw in the future involved Iron Man as a crucial part of it. So, you know,
and Tony asks him, you know, why would you do that? And he says, we're in the end game now. And again, Strange, as we've established, is a badass. I think he might know what he's talking about. So maybe we should take his lead. You know, maybe he knew that, you know, he wouldn't be the one to necessarily save the day, but he had to keep the timeline, you know, intact as much as possible to, you know, allow for that one possibility of winning. So, yeah, I like this whole Titan sequence here. I liked that we got to see Titan, you know, and, you know, the brief moment of Thanos kind of showing, you know, using the Reality Stone again to show Titan as it was, to show, you know, why he, you know, believes so strongly in his, you know, if he, you know, kill half the population, then we can save it. Is like, you know, I knew that I could do it for my people, but, you know, they called me a madman for it. You know, I can see the inner workings of Thanos here. So I like that a lot. I like that a lot here.
Yeah, I think, you know, all you have to do to relate to Thanos is just to go try to drive during rush hour. And you'll be like, why are half of these cars here? Like, get them out of here. And then you'll be like, wow, Thanos' plan sounds pretty good right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Andrew, Emily, any thoughts for the Titan sequence?
Yeah, I got, you know, Doctor Strange is fucking cool. He claps his hands. He's got the 1,000-arm thing. I talked about this before. But it was at that moment on this whole sequence here that I realized Doctor Strange, they appreciate Doctor Strange and what he can do. He's got the fire whip. He duplicates him without... I think he's the only... I mean, really and truly, I think he's the only one that kind of almost held his own against Thanos.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, everyone else kind of had to... You know, they each kind of had to restrain one of his limbs, basically. Each kind of member kind of did that, whereas Strange was just kind of on his own and was... you know, standing toe-to-toe with him, more or less. I mean, Thanos obviously had the advantage of a 2/3 complete Infinity Gauntlet at this point. You know, so he could use the Soul Stone to see through where, you know, the Strange's projections were and stuff like that. But still, yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, I wanted, I think we both wanted more of that in Strange's movie. So I hope that should we get a Doctor Strange sequel, should he come back in an Avengers 4, that I hope that... Or
just his own movie. If he comes back in his own movie, he can...
Well, that's what I'm saying, is that, you know, post-Avengers 4, if Strange is in fact alive, which he probably will be, that, you know, he is not returned back to kind of beginner Doctor Strange. Like, this is Master of the Mystic Arts. This is possibly Sorcerer Supreme Doctor Strange we're seeing here. Like, he's up there now. Like, he's definitely one of the most powerful people we've seen in this universe.
Yes.
As he's displayed here, which is fucking cool.
It was really cool.
Yeah. So
that's what I got. That's what I got for that sequence. Moving on to the next.
Okay, well, we are in the end game here. Wakanda. There's an assault on Wakanda. So Cap's team heads there with Vision to kind of protect the Mind Stone, and they're trying to get Shuri to possibly remove the Mind Stone and keep Vision as intact as possible. Meanwhile, approximately midnight, Cold Obsidian come to town. They bring the Outrider army with them, little Venom-looking motherfuckers. To kind of go, storm Wakanda, basically. And we meet up with Black Panther, Okoye, Rhodey's with them now. And it's pretty badass. You get this massive, massive battle sequence. M'Baku coming back. Of course, the Jabari tribe represented here. Banner is fighting in the Hulkbuster because he's having a little performance issues. And you get this whole massive battle sequence, which is super awesome. And you get, Andrew, the moment I think you've been talking about like 20 times so far, fucking Thor coming to town with Stormbreaker in hand and just laying waste to the army here.
Yeah, it's cool.
And yeah, this whole sequence is just such an awesome kind of third act set piece for me. And there's a lot of moving pieces with it. There's a lot of characters to kind of track. And I think that, each of them kind of do get a moment. We get kind of a little side duel between Proxima and I guess it's when Wanda comes down. She's kind of stuck up there with Vision, and then like these big fucking lawnmower motherfucker things come in, and
lawnmower motherfucking things.
Thanos and his lawnmowers. Death.
Well, they didn't bring the Thanos copters, so they had to bring the
This is a
lawnmower
PG
motherfucker things.
thing, dude. Lawnmower motherfucking things. I like it.
Anyway, she comes in there to kind of sweep them up. Otherwise, they're gonna, just destroy everyone. And Wanda and Proxima have a little side duel, and Okoye and Black Widow kind of come in there, and then Wanda lifts her up, and then she gets swallowed by one of the lawnmower motherfuckers. But you get a lot of this is just pure action here. It's just madness kind of happening here, especially with the Outriders. Like those things are just vicious. Like they're chopping their own limbs off just trying to get through the barrier in the capital city there. So this is kind of where everything has led to, and they eventually do kind of, especially with the help of Thor, rout kind of the Black Order. Hulkbuster finishes off Cold Obsidian. Corvus goes after Vision again, and Cap kind of intervenes, and then Vision gets the final blow on Corvus. And eventually Destiny arrives. Thanos makes his way to Earth at last with 5 stones, seeking that last stone from Vision. And everyone kind of mounts like a last stand as Thanos kind of walks his way towards Vision, and Wanda basically prepares to sacrifice Vision in order to destroy the stone to prevent Thanos from assembling the gauntlet here. And this is the moment that got me. You talked about, did you cry at any moment? This is where it got me, because goddamn, Wanda has been through some shit too. Her brother died. Her parents died, and now her lover, she has to kill him in order to kind of save the universe effectively. And she does. She does do it, and then Thanos is like, I understand. And then he just undoes everything, and she has to watch him just get fucking maimed. Thanos just fucking rips the stone out of his head, and he immediately, he just goes monochrome. Like all the color just goes away, and I'm like, fuck me, man. Like that was like, oh man, Thanos does not fucking play around when he
rips it out of his head.
Yeah, it was rough, man. Like that was like, like I really like Vision, and I really like Wanda, and I like the two of them together, and like that was just like, this girl just needs a fucking break. So that was probably one of the moments that got me personally. But I think maybe I like these characters more than maybe you guys do kind of coming in, but
it was pretty fucked. No, there's no denying it was pretty fucked.
Yeah. But Thor comes in, at the last second.
Throws it in his chest, dude.
Stormbreaker goes through the chest. He pushes it in a little bit more.
Should have aimed for the head, boy.
Yeah.
Or maybe that's a God of War quote. I don't know.
I would say that was a little Kratos Thanos mix up, but it's close enough. I like that. So before we get to kind of the tail end of this movie, just that whole Wakanda sequence, anything on that?
Unrelated to all the sad stuff going on, two of the hilarious, funny, awesome moments that they had was the Bucky picking up Rocket.
Yeah.
Just spinning him around while he shoots. And then Rocket's like, how much for the arm? And he's like, I'm getting that arm. And then the I am Groot response with, I am Steve Rogers. Like, I don't even know why. That was, that
he just looks so puzzled. He's like, what is this? I am Steve Rogers.
I think it was just a delivery. Like, oh man, that was great. That was hilarious.
Yeah.
Like, good humor mixed in without, some of the criticism we had in the other Marvel movies. I don't think the humor ever took away from the seriousness of this movie. Actually,
no, I think it's all very. I think you might even say that it's perfectly balanced, as all things should be.
Yeah.
And anyone else on that before we get to, the things that are to come?
That's it. What are the things come?
I tried snapping, it didn't work. Okay, there's a snap. I'm gonna. Yeah, there we go. Someone, thank you.
That's me.
Oh, okay, I was trying. I was like, oh no, that was underwhelming. How does he snap with a gauntlet? Who's to say? Oh, there we go. Someone's got it working. Appreciate it. All right, that's enough. Please stop.
I think I just killed most of the universe right there.
But he does it. He does the fucking snap. And
what did you do? That's what he says. I'm sorry. I got excited again.
He did. That's okay. It's an exciting moment. And, it kind of goes to a flash of white. And initially, when I was thinking about this and I was like, if I was making this movie and I was going to do the snap, I was like, how do you end the movie? Like, do you just do the snap and then boom, credits? Like, because that's almost unsatisfying. Like, that's kind of a comic book ending of like, whoa, what's going to come out? Find out in a month. This one, you don't really have that luxury. And it's kind of like, well, are people really going to know what the snap actually did? And, it brings Thanos to Soul World. I don't know. Maybe he's talking to Lady Death here. I don't know. We see the little Gamora. Did you do it? Yes. What did it cost? Everything. And that, for me, I think it's been a while since we talked about it, but I think that's, for me, the moment that sold me on Thanos. Like, Thanos does lose everything, effectively. He gets what he wants, but all his children are dead, Gamora included. I guess Nebula, but he doesn't seem to like Nebula very much. Nebula is still kicking, I guess, at this point. But, Thanos kind of basically had to go on his little Thanos quest here. And, he went through the ringer himself. Obviously it's self-induced. He didn't have to kill Gamora. But, his will was stronger than, kind of the emotions in that moment. And I think that Thanos... Yeah, I mean, it's kind of satisfying seeing a villain kind of achieve their goals, and it's interesting because this movie basically frames Thanos in some ways as its protagonist. In terms of he's at least the central character of it. I don't think he's a good guy or anything like that, but he's definitely the one that has an arc through the movie that we track kind of from the beginning, and to see it kind of encapsulated in this moment with the little Gamora here. Like, I was like, this is such a fucking good moment. I like that. And then, we come back and then the bloodbath starts, basically, of everyone turning to ash. So, who do we lose? We lose Bucky first, right? We lose Bucky. And then, it goes to T'Challa, over to Okoye, and I think most people are like, "Oh, see ya, Okoye, bye."
Like, no, not Okoye, and then T'Challa,
and then Black Panther dies. Yeah, this second time I saw it, I knew it was coming, so I was kind of keyed into kind of audience reactions, and this audience lost their fucking mind when Black Panther died. Yeah. I don't know how your guys' respond, but Bucky, they're like, oh no, and then T'Challa dies, and they're like, you fuck motherfucker! everyone's losing their damn mind. Like, seriously, I don't think I've heard such an audible reaction to anything in a theater like that. Groot dies, Wanda, poor Wanda, she's finally got the relief she actually probably wanted. Sam dies while Rhodey's looking for him. Mantis, Drax, Quill. All the Guardians except for Rocket are now dead. And then Doctor Strange, who kind of just seems like he peacefully goes. Like, I think Doctor Strange knows, like, this was the only way. I think he actually says that. And then, I don't want to go. Peter Parker, man. That's the big one. Yeah, that's the big one.
I don't want to go. Poor guy, man. Oh, fuck. Tony's going to come back with a vengeance. He's going to be pissed.
Yeah. So I loved this ending. And I guess, we can get to the credits here. Basically, we go to Thanos. He had talked about how he wanted to watch the sunset and, he would rest, and we see just that. And it's a really powerful moment. Thanos just smiles. We see his armor's hung up on a scarecrow, another reference to the comics here. And just this moment here, it's basically Farmer Thanos, and it's fucking awesome to see that. And then, boom, directed by Anthony and Joe Russo, and you get this very downtrodden black and white bleak end credits. Like, there's no fanfare. It's just fucking business. It's all business here. And oh man, what a way to end a fucking movie. What a way. Like, I'm so glad that Marvel, Russo's, Marcus and McFeely, Feige, everyone involved said, fuck it, let's go for it. And yes, it is, in effect, part one of, 2. But still, it's a fucking good way to end your movie. And, again, everyone I saw it with was just like, what? And this is where the casual audiences, I think, that maybe get a little bit more impact, because I don't think a lot of people know that Avengers 4 is coming next year. Because this was initially literally called Part 1. And then they said, okay, we're not going to do that anymore. This is Infinity War. Avengers 4 is untitled as of now. We don't know what it's called. And I don't know. I'm so happy that they went with this. I know I half suspected they would, but just actually seeing it, is something else entirely. So, end of this movie. The movie's over now. What do you guys think here?
It's so dark. It's so intense. It's actually probably like one of the first like mass-produced movies that everyone's seeing that has ended on such a dark note. Like, it literally made me think of like the ending of like Seven. But walking in, it's going to be dark. But,
it's in the box!
What's in the box?
It's in the fucking box!
The second I saw Gwyneth, I was like, it's going to happen. The box is going to happen.
Oh, no. That's true. I didn't think about that.
But, no, it was so intense. Like, I don't know. I like left and I was like, I get it. I get what all the sad memes are about. Like, I feel sad. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I don't think I was trying to think of like a movie that ended with the villain just straight up winning like this. At least like a big time blockbuster movie, and I personally couldn't think of any, and nothing to this scale.
No, nothing to this scale.
Where the heroes like straight up fail to the point where half of the universe is dead or gone, whatever you want to call it. Like, they straight up failed. The villain achieved the one thing he was trying to do, and that's it. That's how it ends.
Yeah, I mean, I think Empire is the closest thing I can think of, but
yeah,
even that's not quite to this extent. But I mean,
you're losing a Han Solo kind of thing. Where like
Han Solo or half the universe. It's kind of the same thing in some ways. But.
I mean, and yeah, I think to anyone who doesn't know that there's a very, very good chance that like these characters are coming back. Like, I don't know how I would react in that way, and then I'm thinking about, what if in the small chance that some of these characters don't come back, like we just straight up don't get a Spider-Man or a Black Panther? Like, I'm so certain that's going to happen that if the very, very small chance that doesn't happen, I don't know what I would do with myself.
Well, I mean, it's one of those things where Miles Morales exists in this universe. Shuri still, as far as we know, exists in this universe. There's precedent for other characters to take on the mantles of Black Panther, of Spider-Man. I'm not saying that it's going in that direction, but it's not an impossibility,
Yeah.
So, I think that that's obviously not the way that they're going to be taking it. I think that a lot of these will be undone eventually, but I do think that perhaps in their place, some other deaths will happen that will probably have permanence.
The Gauntlet looked pretty fucked up,
I
though.
think so too.
Yeah, I think the Gauntlet's probably out of commission at this point. Yeah.
So what happens? What do you speculate happens to bring them back?
It's a good question.
If not the Gauntlet, then what else is there?
I don't know. Maybe they need to get
Maybe,
H3 to build another one.
Maybe you got to call in for some backup.
Yeah, maybe you need a little Ant-Man. Maybe you need a Wasp.
Maybe you need
a Hawkeye.
Maybe you
Maybe
need
a
a Captain
Captain.
Marvel. Know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Oh, a Captain Marvel. Why would you say that? Oh, is it because of the post-credit sequence?
That
Is that why you might mention it?
That might be
Well,
what I'm referencing. Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll get into it then. So, we pick up on Earth. Maria Hill, Nick Fury in a little car having a little chit-chat, and shit goes sideways. And Hill, blinks out of existence, and Fury's like, fuck this shit. It's time to hit the panic button. So he gets this little pager thing, and as he himself goes into ashes, the pager falls to the floor, and we get a very familiar symbol. For one, Carol Danvers, Captain Marvel. So is it a little Carol Ex Machina action going to happen in Avengers 4? Certainly looks that way. I know Feige has basically said that she's going to be the most powerful hero that we've ever seen to date, and we've already established in this very episode that Doctor Strange, ain't nothing to fuck with himself. So I'm very curious to see what we have in store with Captain Marvel come March, and presumably come Avengers 4 in May. So, post-credit sequence, you guys like that?
Totally.
Get you hype?
I'm a big Captain Marvel fan since the more recent comics, so I'm all about it. I hope she gets the helmet. I'm like all in. And I think this is a great move for Marvel, because then you without this, the Captain Marvel movie that's coming out, it takes place in the 90s. So you're like, okay, why, other than it's a Marvel character, why do I care about this? Well,
because
now
it's
you
Brie
care
Larson.
because she's,
That's why.
well, yeah, no, there's plenty of good reasons, but for the casual moviegoer, it's well, now you care because she's going to be coming in the next Avengers movie, so you want to know what her deal is.
Yeah, and honestly, the way they've set it up kind of makes perfect sense. I mean,
yeah.
Like Ant-Man and the Wasp, I assume probably at least most of it takes place before this happens, and maybe at the tail end or maybe in a post-credit scene we see maybe some of those characters kind of blink out of existence, and then Ant-Man or whoever is still left is kind of like, well, shit, maybe I should do something. Or maybe in Avengers 4 we see Hawkeye, half of his family's gone. That's a pretty good motivator for him to come out of retirement, stuff like that. So I think that the characters that we didn't see in this one, I think that that will probably have a role in Avengers 4. I think that it makes sense. Captain Marvel, we're going to see her in the 90s, and we'll probably have some sort of explanation for why she's been gone and why Fury probably didn't bother. Big alien invasion over New York? Nah, I don't need Captain Marvel for that. We got the Avengers, we'll be good. There's probably got to be some sort of reasons why this is now the time to hit the call Carol Danvers button. So I'm really looking forward to Ant-Man and the Wasp, as we talked about earlier, to Captain Marvel, as we see a little, thread here, and Avengers 4, man, shit, there's so many good things up and coming on the horizon with this universe that, with the way this movie ended, how could you not be excited to see what has to come? Because I honestly I have no fucking clue what Avengers 4 is going to look like. I don't know, how do you undo this? How do you beat Thanos? I have no fucking clue. I'm excited to find out what they are going to do with it, because, it's the same. They filmed this and Avengers 4 back to back. The Russos did it. Marcus and McFeely wrote it. Basically they constructed these as kind of two movies that stand on their own, but are in one kind of interconnected story. So I'm very, very excited to see where things go with that. Do we have any title predictions for Avengers 4?
Infinity War 2.
I think that's not happening.
Boo.
Okay. Well, I don't know. I might be wrong again, I guess.
All right. I think you're definitely going to be wrong. I have two that I will guess, and both have been kind of speculated over the past few days. I've heard Avengers Forever, which I think is okay, and that takes its name from a comic book, not anything I don't think they would actually take from story-wise. But what I like and what I think is going to be it, and I think it makes sense given the dialogue in this movie, is Avengers Endgame.
I don't know about that one
I like
either.
that.
I don't know.
I like the second one a little more.
That's definitely better than the first one, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, I think a lot of people thought that this was going to be New Avengers up until most of the New Avengers died at the end of the movie. Like, well, it's probably not going to be that.
Call it Old Avengers.
What do you think? I mean, actually, assuming Hawkeye's still alive, all the OG Avengers are around. So I think that we'll probably get a lot heavier focus on, the old Avengers rallying around. I mean, we never saw Stark and Rogers on screen together. They didn't actually technically reconcile after the events of Civil War. I think they'll probably have to now. But that was one thing I definitely thought we'd see in this movie, and they addressed it, but then it just kind of moved in a different direction. But I think now with Avengers 4, I think they got to get the band back together.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't think of any names from the comics that stick out to me. Oh, this makes sense. Thanos Imperative sounds cool, but I don't know how that works. Just Infinity or Infinity Gauntlet. I don't nothing really makes sense in this context, so I have no clue.
All right. Well, we'll find out eventually. Who knows when, but we will find out eventually. I have some scattered thoughts before we just kind of wrap everything up. As we expected, the Defenders did not show up. Well, I guess the video game Defenders showed up in Groot's hands, but the actual Defenders of Daredevil, Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, and Danny Rand, the Immortal Iron Fist, did not show up. So not surprising in that regard. But I have to ask you guys, if you have to pick half the Defenders to snap out of existence, who do you pick? we all know one. We all know one. So it's the other one that's going to be difficult. So we know Danny's gone. So who's the other one? Who goes with him?
Fuck.
Shit.
If you're gonna pick two?
Well, there's 4 on the team, so 2 got to go.
2 have to go. Okay, so if you take 2, I guess I'd pick Luke Cage. Defenders for Hire, I guess. Or whatever the fuck it was. I don't know the name of the team.
Heroes for Hire.
Heroes for Hire. Take them both. It's fine.
Yeah. That's where I'm at with that, because I like Matt and Jess. So I can't do that. And you definitely can't take. If you take Matt from me, I will lose my shit. I'll go House of M on your ass.
I was everyone thinks he's dead anyway, so I was like, maybe he can
that's
be
true.
gone for a year.
That's true. I guess it wouldn't make much of a difference.
As long as he comes back.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. Maybe I'll allow it then. Anyway, Black Order. Did you guys have a favorite member of the Black Order? Like I said, I really like these guys' designs. I was happy to see them kind of have some fighting prowess in here and just kind of be cool. They didn't really have much beyond being cool and occasionally threatening and stuff. But you guys have a favorite member?
Voldemort.
Yeah, Maul was cool. Otherwise, the other ones didn't stand out to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Ma probably had the best presence overall, but I'm partial to Proxima Midnight. She's pretty badass. Kind of wish they didn't all die, but what are you gonna do about that? Maybe you can bring them back too. Fuck it. Xandar, what do you guys think about the lack of Thanos? Lack of kind of being shown how Thanos got the Power Stone.
That I don't know. I thought it was fine. It's okay. I don't care.
Yeah, well, I think I have 2 thoughts on that I will offer. First of which is I think it's very samey if you start with that and then you get to him, getting the Space Stone. It's kind of him just wrecking shop, and I don't think you needed to do that twice in a row. My second thought is, damn, that is right material to explore in a Nova movie.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, someone knows what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah.
That's a good way to start a movie and explain, or maybe a dick writer absorbing the Nova world mind. What do you think about that?
I am 1,000% on board with this.
Dick Ryder being Richard Ryder, just for the record. No, Sam Alexander.
No.
Or, no. Okay, we got to wrap this up. We've been going for a while, so I've got to ask couple of questions to you guys, and we'll take turns with this. First of which is, who is your MVP of the movie, and what is your favorite moment of the movie? So we'll answer these to each answer both questions one at a time. So whoever wants to start can start.
Doctor Strange is my MVP.
Okay.
He's fucking cool. He's grown a lot in the past couple movies. He's the only one to really stand toe-to-toe against Thanos. He did some cool mystical shit. And I think Doctor Strange's got fire whips. he's kind of like leading the team there on Titan a little bit, and I think he's fucking cool.
Okay. Favorite moment for you?
A favorite moment easily is when he's floating above there and he claps his hands and he drags his arms down. He's got like 500 arms, and then he duplicates himself. I thought that was really cool. And then he pulls all the fire whips on him at once. I'm doing all the motions at the same time while I'm explaining all of it. I got pumped up. Yeah. So, anyways, that's probably that's my individual favorite moment for sure.
Mm-hmm. Who would like to go next?
Henry,
All
you
right.
go next, and I'll go.
Sounds good. Okay. MVP, I will say Thor, Odin's son. He came off a very strong movie in Thor Ragnarok and just kept the ball rolling. Comedic chops was on point. Got emotional when he needed to get emotional, and just wrecked everything when he got to Wakanda. Just like, like the whole theater is like clapping and cheering as soon as he comes in with Rocket and Groot, and then he just goes full like God of Thunder mode and just throws lightning everywhere. And I was like, man, this is the Thor I want to see. This is like the OP, like Thor, possibly strongest Avengers, just not on the ship register.
Yes, this is true. Yeah, same. But Stark might change that up in the future.
Yeah. Favorite moment is probably the end, as grim and dark as it is. Like, I don't know. First time it killed me. The second time, it's kind of like it harkens back a little bit to the Red Wedding. It's just one of those things. It's like so tragic that you kind of love it.
Yeah.
And then within that, the Spider-Man scene just, that hit me right in the feels.
Emily, you got some answers ready for us?
That's so sad, Henry. How is that your favorite moment? That's so dark. I'm crying. I don't believe you. MVP, I think it has to be a tie between Thor and Doctor Strange, because they're the only like crazy awesome dudes that can like hold their own against Thanos. I mean, nobody else, like even Iron Man, like he's fighting off like a moon, but he doesn't like, I don't know. Really, I feel like they're the most powerful ones. So they deserve awards.
Okay.
Also,
right.
Moving on. Favorite moment. I definitely really liked when Ma was called Squidward. Like the second that happened, I knew this movie was going to be awesome and I was going to love it. But I don't know. I don't think this is probably a good moment to say, because I don't think anyone's going to agree with me. But when Peter Dinklage appeared so magically and was the magical dwarf that made all the amazing weapons, I got really excited. But like, I laughed at everything he said, and I know that's not the purpose and I'm a bad person, but like, I don't know, I just couldn't take him seriously and I laughed, and it's not a good favorite part because it's not in script, but I don't know, it made me really happy. And the ending was horrible, Henry. That's not a favorite moment. You're a liar. How could you say that? Groot and Spider-Man. I died.
Well, I have to say that I initially picked Thor as my MVP because as far as the heroes are concerned, he's definitely the MVP. But as far as the MVP of this movie, it's got to be Thanos. Because that dude cleaned house. All right? I mean, he is the most valuable player. I mean, he won. He won the movie, basically. He assembled all the stones, and he managed to do the snap. He realized his goals. He experienced loss in the process of doing it, but he did everything what he wanted to do. So in terms of value, he's got to be the winner for this movie. I don't think he'll be the MVP of Avengers 4, to be fair, but I think for this one, he's the central character, and he won, so he's got to take it for me. And as a tack on to that, my favorite moment is the snap. I loved seeing it happen. Like, it was just one of those things. I was like, oh my god, they did it. The first time I saw it, and then just the fallout from that, I'm like, oh my fuck, what is happening in this? Again, I was just that was another thing where I was like, I know I did half expect it, but just to actually see it happen, like, blew me away. And the audience reactions to that. The first time through, I was feeling those emotions too, but the second time through, I was feeding on those emotions of everyone being like, "Whoa, oh my god, no, what? No, no. Every time someone started fading to ashes, like that, it's just such a brilliantly executed ending, and it leaves things in such an awesome spot moving forward that I love not knowing what comes next. I don't know that I want to know what comes next in terms of I still think we managed to escape with both Stark and Rogers surviving to fight another day, and I don't know that we'll be so lucky come this time next year, but I can't wait to see what comes. So that's it for me. And I think that might be it for Avengers Infinity War. I know we've been going for a long time. I know I've been talking for way too long. So I apologize again, not only to you guys, but to our listeners as well for liking the sound of my voice a little too much. Any last thoughts on Avengers that you guys want to state?
Go be a part of the human race.
Go be a part of the human race. That's that. Yeah, that's it. You heard it here first. So do it. Just do it.
I think my favorite joke, not that we have to go through it, but just one that we haven't talked about that I thought of right now, was when they're talking about Star-Lord's talking about how his accomplishments and and then Drax is like, "Oh, talk about the time you saved the universe by having a dance off," and then they're like, "Oh, like in Footloose?" It's like, "Yeah." It's like, is that still the greatest movie on earth? And then Spider-Man just not even on screen. He's like, "It never was." And it just crushes. It just crushes it. I'm like, oh man, this is why I need Spider-Man.
Yeah, actually, you reminded me of something I think that happens in that same sequence that might be my favorite joke is Mantis stating that we're here to kick names and take ass. And we get this very extended reaction shot of Stark just absolutely just fucking blown away by what he's hearing. I mean, it's probably a good 5-second long shot of just him just
decompressing. Jesus Christ, what the fuck?
That's incredible. It might be the longest held steady cam shot in this entire movie, and it's fucking excellently timed. So we leave our Infinity War review with a little bit of levity for you guys, just to pump the brakes on the sadness for just a little while. If you guys are okay with this, I think we can probably safely skip what we've been up to this past week, just because this is a long episode already, and I know some of us have things we need to do. Is that all right with you guys?
Yeah, and I know that you haven't been up to shit. So.
Yeah, I've been doing other things, to be fair. So next episode probably just be Andrew and myself. And honestly, I don't know how much we'll have to talk about the movie next week. It's kind of one of those things where movie studios know that Avengers is going to swallow everything in its wake, so there's really not too much big coming out until basically Deadpool mid-May. So
I'll be able to tell you all about God of War. We can have an entire episode about God of War.
I think we'll have a shorter movie episode probably next week, but we'll have probably a lot more time to talk about kind of other things we've been up to. So we'll get to it then, unless there's anything you guys just want to immediately shout out very briefly. Otherwise, we can kind of call it a day.
Nah.
Well, in that case, I want to thank Henry, Emily. I want to thank you both for hanging out with us and listen to me talk for too long. And it's been a pleasure having you both on. Henry, it's certainly been a pleasure having you join us for this massive journey throughout the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I think this is 5 episodes for you now. Emily, you're obviously welcome to join us in the future. I realize we didn't give you a chance to talk too much, and I kind of realize now I didn't really give you a chance to talk about who you are and kind of how you know us. But we've all been friends for a long time, since high school, just for the record.
Yeah.
So we all go way back, and it was fun having you on. So you are obviously very welcome to join us in the future. Maybe something that you might have a little bit more interest in, at least kind of from the get-go. I know you said you liked this one, but you said you were a little, unsure, I guess, going in. So beyond that, I want to thank our listeners for tuning in and listening to our last in our coverage of the Marvel Cinematic Universe for now. Of course, we'll be picking up with our coverage in a couple months' time when Ant-Man and the Wasp comes out. But until then, you're just going to have to make do with all the movies that are going to come out for the next couple months. If you guys enjoyed this episode, if you enjoyed what you heard, spread the word. All right, he laughed. I was waiting for someone to say something.
What?
It's because it's a shit rhyme.
It's awesome. I think it's the best.
You've heard it here first.
We got our catchphrases, man. We got to put our catchphrases in there.
And
you can support us.
later in the man, Jay.
Oh, we're not there yet. Come on now. You
fuck,
can't spoil
I'm
the
sorry.
ending for everyone. Jeez. If you'd like to support us on Patreon, you are certainly welcome to do so. Just head to our website, which is watchreviewrepeat.com, and then click the premium tab, or go to our Patreon page at patreon.com/watchreviewrepeat. Right now, we don't have a bonus episode up, but we're going to have one coming out later in May. We don't have any information on that just yet, but stay tuned, and we'll keep you guys posted on that front. You can check us out on Twitter at WRRPod, like us on Facebook. Henry, I know you are at Heroic Henrique on Twitter, so give him a follow, absolutely. Emily, I don't know how much action you have on the social media, so don't feel obliged to share unless you want to.
The Emily Asher on Instagram. It's mostly vegan recipes and horrible things, but I will mention you guys in my blog because this is awesome.
Okay. Ooh. All right. Well, there you go. Again, poster giveaway. Stay tuned on our social media. We're going to put details up on Twitter and Facebook about how to enter. And I think we're going to restrict it to the United States because shipping can be expensive. So I apologize if that excludes you, but I think our listeners are largely American-based. So any questions, comments, suggestions, maybe some of your reactions to Infinity War, shoot them on over to us, to our Gmail account, watchreviewrepeat@gmail.com. Our intro and outro track is Mechanolith by Kevin MacLeod, licensed under the Creative Commons by Attribution 3.0 license. Next episode, I think Andrew and we haven't actually talked about it just yet, but I think we're going to talk about Tully. That's what I'm leaning towards. We can figure this out to come, but there's really just not much happening in terms of what's coming out.
Cool.
So it's reviewing well. So and I like Jason Reitman's work prior to that, so that's kind of why I'm thinking that. And Charlize, it's Charlize Theron. So
she's in it. She's
good.
Cool. Yeah, she's real cool. So I'll watch that.
Yeah. So that's probably what's going to be happening with that front. But stay tuned on that front for some more information if that potentially changes as well. I think I'm out of words. Well, I have something else to say, but I'll save it, even though Andrew tried to spoil it for you guys. So,
what are you gonna say?
I can't say it yet. I gotta be the last one. So I wanted to turn the mic over to Henry, Emily, Andrew. Anything you guys want to say before I take us out?
I'll say adios, amigos.
Okay.
Goodbye, my beautiful men. I miss you.
I don't feel so good.
Oh no.
Jesus. Oh God.
What is life, Henry? What is life?
Stop rewatching the ending and be happy, please. I worry about you.
I don't feel so well.
Well, I know how to make Andrew feel better, and that is by saying, "Laters on the menge."
All right, everybody, good night.